And started recording. Dinikar sir. Dinikar sir, we're going to start. We're going to go live now.
Prashanta.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can start.
Okay.
I think so. Another 2 minutes, if you don't mind. 2 minutes because people will join. They're messaging us.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. All right. I think start the session now.
Great.
Good evening, everyone. Myself, Dr. Prashant Goda, NNF Karnataka State Chapter Secretary. So this is the continuation of the web series which we have initiated. Today is the 17th session which is going on how to make finance infrastructure a better place in terms of cost-wise, in terms of profit-wise, in terms of coordination, in terms of quality. So continuing that, we have two important topics today. That is digital marketing strategy, which is the in thing now. So every business, irrespective of medical, non-medical, it doesn't matter. Digital market uh, has been a great mode of enhancing the business. So we have digital marketing strategy in the hospital development, doctor perspective, website, app designing, and many more things related to the digital thing. This topic will be taken by Mr. Chaitanya. He's the CMO and CDO of Cloudnine Group of Hospitals across India. Followed by that, we have another topic. Is the hospital elevation important? Interiors, hospitality, ambience, and the hospital status and branding both inside and outside. So this will be dealt by Dr. Satish Ghanta sir. He's the neonatal and pediatric critical care services at consultant. Plus is a CEO of Little Star Children Hospital, Choice Foundation director, and he is like I call two people, Shakuntala Devi of medical business. One is Dr. Suresh from Salem. Another one is Satish Ghanta sir. Anything related to business, partnership, branding, marketing, anything related to hospital business, sir will always have a fantastic advice, a fantastic idea. So he has got very good knowledge about the entire thing and the process of hospital business. So he will be dealing with that. Today's session will be moderated by Mr. Srikanteshwar, Dr. Arun, Mr. Arun Kumar, Dr. Adarsh Somshekhar, Dr. Shekhar Subaya, and all our speakers. They will be our panelists. First, we will have two sessions, followed by that panelists will express their experience and views, and then we'll take up all the questions from the audience. Now, I request Mr. Chaitanya, over to you. Please start the session.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I hope my screen is visible. You're able to see the slide, right?
Yes.
That's a digital marketing slide. Great.
Fine. Screen is also visible.
Excellent. So, first of all, let me thank you organizers for having me here. I think it's a pleasure being being among so many doctors and such highly reputed doctors on that side. Just to quickly add on to the introduction, so as Dr. mentioned, I'm Chaitanya. I have been the Chief Marketing Officer and Chief Digital Officer for Cloudnine for the past 3 years. Prior to that, I had done my own healthcare startup, and before that, I was in a proper mobile advertising firm called InMovie. I was there for almost a year, and that was shortly after I graduated from IIM Ahmedabad back in 2011. So, folks, in today's conversation, I wanted to, in the interest of time, basically give an overview of what your digital marketing strategy should kind of look like. What are the areas to focus on? What's important? What's not? And I will take this more as an education session where I'm going to talk about specific items that encompass the entire digital marketing strategy as such. Needless to say, I've not gone into too much detail into any one aspect. Just keeping in mind that if we did that, then we can have like a 6-hour session if we need to. But please feel free to pause me at any point of time if you have any questions. I'll keep checking on the hand raises or comments over here. So if there's anything that anybody needs to ask me, please pause right away. I would like to have this as an interactive session. Before I jump into the session as such, I think one of the important caveats that I wanted to kind of place was that, see, any marketing strategy and more so in terms of digital marketing will be greatly influenced by the speciality that you're coming from and the kind of business that you're into, right? So, for example, there would be a big variation in terms of any clinical specialties such as dermatology, medical specialty, and stuff like that. And similarly, there'll be a big variation in terms of how surgical specialties handle marketing as such, right? And the simplest example of that is that most clinical specialists won't share their phone numbers with patients, while most surgical specialists will. On the same lines, there's a huge influence in terms of the specialty, the product, or rather the specific item that you want to market in terms of crafting your entire marketing strategy. That's number one. And a greater example of that basically is that, for example, in something like IVF, the strategy that you would create is completely different. Similarly, as a pediatrician, if you're trying to promote your clinic, there would be a slightly different strategy. If you're trying to promote vaccinations, then there's a different strategy. And if you're doing something related to NICUs, then there's a completely different strategy as such. So it has to be a mix of B2B, B2C, what channels you're choosing, and primarily anchor to what the specialty is and what is the specific product that you're taking to market, right? And when I say product, I basically mean what is the specific, say, procedure or specific item through which you want to acquire the customer, right? So with that, I'll jump into the discussion. I'll, again, as I mentioned earlier, please pause me, ask any questions that you want. What we have over here is a very small glimpse of the depth of digital marketing, but I'd be happy to go into as much depth as I can in this meeting. Yeah. So let me start with this basic question, right? So why should doctors care about digital presence at all, right? And I could have actually skipped this slide altogether because I think everybody understands how important your digital presence is. But the consultant in me wouldn't feel nice about a proper storyline if I didn't start with this slide, right? So like any other presentation on digital marketing made for healthcare, I will start with asking the question, why should doctors actually care about digital presence? And here's the answer to it. The simple thing is that almost every patient does some kind of online research before they come and visit a doctor, right? And in just a second, I will talk about two different types of patients. I've kind of simplified it, even though there will be a lot more depth in that sense. Various research has proved that close to about 80-90% of the patients actually start their search for a doctor by searching online. So you search best pediatrician, best gynecologist in Bangalore, in Tirumalgiri, in Tipasandra, whatever your area is, before you actually think about going and visiting a doctor, right? And that happens in at least 80% of the cases, if not more. The other interesting thing is that data point in this direction is that healthcare related keywords and healthcare searches are not only the highest volume on Google or any other platform as such, they're also the most expensive, right? A very simple example of this is that I'm sure everybody's heard of WebMD. WebMD was sold a couple of years back for $2.8 billion, 2.8 billion with a B kind of a thing. So that is the importance of online research as far as healthcare is concerned. Now, just to add some more color to it, See, I will talk about a marketing funnel in a bit, but for now, let's talk about acquisition, right? So a marketing funnel will typically start with building your brand, acquiring customers, and then retaining them, acquiring patients and retaining them. So it's like a three-step process. So you start with saying, how do I get more people to know about me? That is brand building. Then there is customer acquisition, that you actually get the patient into your clinic. And the third part is always about how do you engage the patient and make sure that they stay with you for their entire journey, and then provide positive word of mouth. Now, when you talk about acquisition, or how do patients make their journey, make their decision on which doctor to go and visit, which clinic to go to, which hospital to go to, you can typically think that there may be two different types, right? I've oversimplified this to some extent. Honestly, in some of the research that we did at Cloudnine, we found out that there are 5 different types of customers that we have, and that too just for maternity, right? And similarly for pediatrics, there is more. But just to simplify it, I would take like 2 buckets. So there is one bunch of customers who are very recommendation oriented, and there is another bunch of customers who's very fact oriented kind of a thing, right? Now, if you look at the recommendation oriented kind of customers, they would start with discovering the need. They identify that, okay, look, maybe I'm pregnant, maybe my child is experiencing some amount of fever, whatever is that is, there is a discovery of a need to go to a doctor. And these guys will typically start with asking their friends and family for who's a good pediatrician to go to, right? Staying in Cloudnine, I can't tell you about the number of friends that have reached out to me saying, yeah, whom would you suggest from a pediatric perspective, all right? And that's typically where a lot of people will actually start their journey. But the fact is that even after they get a recommendation for a certain doctor, they would always go online and check what is the feedback and reviews provided about this doctor, right? A lot of times we've seen that even when I have recommended some doctor to a friend, they will come back and tell me that, you know what, for some reason the reviews on Practo or reviews on Google are not great. Is there some issue over here, kind of a thing, right? So that is one journey. So one journey of recommendation oriented patients who will start with saying, let me ask my friends and family about who's a good doctor to go to, and then validate those suggestions online. The other set would almost do the reverse, right? They would start with researching on Practo who's the best gynecologist, best doctor and stuff, and they would still try to validate that with friends and family. So if, for example, you have identified that Dr. XYZ turns out to be the best pediatrician as far as Practo is concerned, you would always go and check with your friends saying, hey, I heard you went to this doctor, how was the experience, kind of a thing, right? So the larger point I'm trying to make over here is that while whatever you do in terms of digital marketing and digital presence is super duper critical, it is not it's not a panacea, right? It's not going to solve all the issues. You still need to make sure that there is very solid word of mouth, that the patient experience is fantastic, so on and so forth. So practically 100% of your total addressable patient base is doing a referral with friends and family in some way, as well as searching online for what your reputation is as such, right? So this is just setting the context. As I was mentioning in the previous slide, there is something called a marketing funnel, right? And this is basically 101 for marketing, right? This is typically how any marketer would start with saying, yeah, what happens typically in marketing is these 3 things, right? It always starts with awareness. How do you make sure that people know about you, right? And that will typically happen by driving a strong word of mouth of yourself, making sure that there are a lot of reviews available, address any negative reviews that come up so that, people generally know about you. So that is as far as awareness is concerned. The next step in a marketing funnel is typically purchase or lead gen, right? Which means that once people know about you, they finally want to come and make a transaction with you, which is in our case going to be about booking an appointment with us, right? Over here, the most important thing is that when a patient is keen on meeting you, there have to be enough and more channels where they can engage with you, right? Which basically means that your information is updated on all platforms. On Google, you have your address picked up properly, your website is linked properly, all of those things, right? So once you build the awareness that people are saying good things about you, then you make sure that you're available on all channels so that if somebody is looking for you, they're able to make the appointment with you, right? Kind of a thing. Then the final step in any marketing engagement is typically the engagement bit, right? Which basically is about how do you keep your patients engaged once they've actually come to you, right? In terms of if they've had one consultation with you, what steps do you take so that they keep coming back to you and you become their permanent physician for the rest of their life and the pediatric journey, so to say. This again links back to awareness, because the more engaged your current patients are, the more good things they would talk about you, and hence build a better reputation for you, which will then lead to more patients coming to you, kind of a thing, right? So it becomes like a vicious cycle. But typically, if somebody asks you anything about marketing, then these are the 3 steps. This is all that any marketing guy does. He just puts more fancy jargon to make it sound a little more complex than it is. But honestly, except for these 3 things, awareness, lead generation, and engagement, there is literally nothing else to marketing, right? But this is in case of both online and offline marketing, kind of a thing. So this is just a general context setting. Now, when we look at the digital marketing landscape, right, and we're talking basically about digital presence in general, you can simply break it down into 2 parts, which is anything that you do that is free, and anything that you do which has a payment associated with it, kind of a thing, right? And I'm sorry, I'm a former strategy consultant, so I will always start with some kind of a framework so that people can understand what I'm talking about. And I'm putting one more framework over here. So as I mentioned, there are basically 2 parts of anything that you do in digital marketing. One is organic, and the other is paid, right? And when I mean organic, it's about anything that you can do for free. And by free, what I mean is that all of these platforms like Google, Practo, Facebook, etc., will let you do things for free, kind of a thing. You may still need to engage an agency or hire somebody to help you out with this, but I'm not costing that. I'm not counting that cost into it. Paid is anything that you do where you have to pay the platform. So, for example, you have to pay Google to run an ad. You have to pay Facebook to run an ad. You have to pay Practo to generate leads for you, so on and so forth, right? So, in general, most of digital marketing can be split very clearly into an organic bucket and a paid bucket, right? Now, within that, I would break down like 3 different areas. So there is search engine related stuff, which is Google. There is social media, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc. And then there are your doctor directories, which are basically your Practo, Liberate, all of these platforms will basically list out doctors. Just Dial is also one of the larger platforms as far as this is concerned, right? So this over here, this slide, this entire, what should I say, this 3x2 essentially captures your entire digital marketing landscape, right? So everything that you do in digital marketing is going to plug into some of these buckets, right? So let's start with search engine. So needless to say, Google is literally the only search engine you need to care about. Of course, there's Bing in other places, but they barely have like 5% of the market, so you don't need to worry about that at all. Now, as far as Google is concerned, in the organic front, there is your search engine ranking or search engine optimization, SEO, right? And then there is something called Google My Business. Now, typically, Google My Business is a part of anything you do on SEO, but given how important it is for doctors, I wanted to just highlight it separately, kind of a thing, right? As far as paid is concerned, within Google, there is search engine marketing, which is basically the ads that show up whenever somebody searches for something. And there is Google Display Network, which is basically the alliance that Google has with various other websites, where if you pay something to Google, Google will show an ad on those websites for you, right? We will go into a lot more detail about this in just a bit. Then from a social media perspective, then on the organic front, you can create your own page, you can make media posts, you can do live sessions and webinars similar to what we've done right now, what we're doing right now. And then there is, of course, any kind of paid marketing that you can do, which means that you're actually running a campaign with a certain objective and a certain outcome, kind of thing. Then as far as doctor directories are concerned, again, these guys offer listings, reviews, and feedback for free. That's something that every doctor is entitled to, and you're entitled to not only have a profile on Practo, you're also entitled to make sure that the information reflected on the platform is accurate, right? And we'll talk about that also in just a bit. You can also have paid engagements with Practo, but I'm sure we would have a mixed opinion about how that experience is. I also have like a similar mixed opinion as far as Practo is concerned, right? But yeah, this is the broad framework as such, with which we can go into a lot more detail. And I will now spend some time going into each piece of this, right? I'm hoping that this session would be a little educational in nature so that you become very comfortable with what some of these terms are, how some of these things operate and stuff. Your specific strategy will basically emerge right from that itself, right? So the first thing that I wanted to do was basically explain what all comes in a Google search, right? Again, I'm just repeating in case anybody has any questions, please either raise your hand, ask a question, go on mute and go ahead kind of a thing. Anyway, so as far as the Google search is concerned, the reason, so by the way, among the things that I've highlighted over here, I will focus a lot more on Google because I personally believe that for healthcare and specifically for pediatrics, Google plays a much more important role. I will also spend a good amount of time on social media, but there the emphasis will be slightly lower, right? Because it's more about brand building and just continuous engagement kind of thing. Also, I will spend more time talking about what you can do from an organic perspective as compared to a paid perspective, and I will explain the reasons for why my focus is broken down in such a way, and you will understand as we proceed in the conversation, right? So anyway, coming back to the Google search. So typically, let's say you went and searched for best pediatricians in Bangalore, right? You would typically see like a long page that will appear in Google. Okay, and I've broken it down into 3 scrolls, right? So this is what comes up for the first time. When you scroll a little more, you will see the scroll 2, which will basically be these locations and stuff, and then finally come pages, right? So let me explain each part of this to you in some detail. Obviously, the first part is about ads, right? So the first thing that you will always see is that there are going to be a bunch of ads that will show up whenever you do a relevant search term. Now, the things to note in these ads, these search ads, is basically that number one, as doctors individually, we are not allowed to promote our own names, right? So you cannot run an ad campaign saying if somebody is searching for, say, best pediatrician in Bangalore, you can't run an ad campaign over there saying Dr. Chaitanya is the best pediatrician in Bangalore. You're not allowed to do that, right? Because of MCI guidelines and stuff. And even Google won't let you do that. On the other hand, you can promote your own clinic, right? So if you have a clinic that says Dr. Chaitanya's clinic, then that can always be promoted saying Dr. Chaitanya's clinic is one of the best clinics in Bangalore, kind of a thing. Right. So that's point number 1 as far as search ads are concerned. Point number 2 is something around called ad blindness, right? So given the amount of overload that we've had of ads, both on social media, on search and stuff, there is now a tendency of customers to actually become blind to some of these ads, right? So a lot of times you will see, I mean, in your personal experience also, you will notice that when you search for something like this, you will almost automatically skip the initial ads and go on to the main search area, right? There is something that's called ad blindness, right? So just because an ad is showing up, you don't need to be worried that some competitor will take away patients who should rightfully come to you. And on the other hand, you don't need to be too confident saying that if I'm running an ad, then every patient who's searching for best pediatrician will land up with me. And the reason for that is this ad blindness wala part, right? Which basically means that customers and patients have now started becoming almost blind to these ads. They literally don't see the ad, right? They directly go onto the search. Okay, so that's about the first scroll, which is basically the search ads. The second part of a Google search, typically in a search term like this, where you say best pediatricians in Bangalore, you basically highlighted Bangalore, which means a certain location. So Google will typically show you these listings, right? It will show you specific clinics that come in on as far as Bangalore are concerned, and where Google thinks these are the best pediatricians, kind of a thing, right? Now, a couple of things to highlight over here. Number one, this is what is called Google My Business, right? So if you have a clinic, if you have any setup that has a physical location, you're entitled to have your own Google My Business page, right? Or a Google My Business listing like this. Okay. In all likelihood, Google might have already created a listing for you, and you will essentially need to go and claim that listing, which means that you go and tell Google that, hey, this clinic that you've listed on Google, that's actually my clinic. So let me control it, let me put posts in it, etc., etc. We'll spend a little bit more time discussing this in some amount of detail, right? The other important part to keep in mind over here is that in a search term, for example, best pediatricians in Bangalore, the word best is of importance to Google. So what Google does is that it will only list hospitals or centers which have 4 or above rating, right? And that is like the default thing. So once you have your Google My Business page, it is very important for you to make sure that the rating on the page is very good, right? We will talk about that in a little more detail in just a bit. Then finally, typically the final thing that you were searching for, the web pages, is what will show up in the third scroll. So first time when you search, then First scroll will be ads, second scroll will be the Google locations, and then finally will be the links that will show up. Now, the one other thing to kind of keep in mind, so few important points as far as this listing is concerned, where you're actually seeing the links, is that number one, for search terms such as best pediatrician, best gynecologist, best pediatric surgeon, whatever that is, wherever you have, where somebody is just searching in general for a number of pediatricians and trying to figure out who the best pediatrician is, Google will typically give higher weightage to aggregator sites, right? So you will see that you will have more Practo, more Liberate searching showing up on this site rather than a Cloudnine or any other hospital. That's because when you say best pediatrician, then Google is assuming that you're looking for choice. So I need to show you as many pediatricians as possible. So Practo being an aggregator site will always show up higher over there. Okay. We will spend a little more time on this as well. The main point over here is that you shouldn't, as far as these listings are concerned, you shouldn't be too much concerned about best pediatrician in Bangalore and stuff. For that, you need to focus more on reviews and feedback. But you should be concerned about what shows up when somebody searches for your own name, right? So if somebody searches for Dr. Chaitanya, what is showing up is very, very critical for you, and you should make sure that the best things show up over there. Okay. So I wanted to bring this up just so that we understand what are the pieces in a Google search. So as I said, it will always start with ads. Then there'll be Google locations, and then finally there will be listings of the websites where that data is available, kind of a thing. Okay. Now, as I was mentioning in the previous slide, there are, I would say, typically that for any doctor there are two very important kind of searches that should matter to you. There is also a third category, but I'm not focused on it right now. Third category would be around specific procedures and stuff, right? So the most important search with regards to one of the most important search with regards to your own profile would be if somebody is searching for best pediatrician in Bangalore. So there, as I mentioned earlier, you need to focus on how are you being reviewed, how are you being rated on various platforms. But the more important thing for you, and this is something that is completely under your control, is when somebody searches for your own name, right? Now, honestly, I must tell you that I feel very passionately about this particular thing, right? So I think one thing about the medical profession and about doctors is that doctors are brands unto themselves, right? Doctors carry their own brand value, they carry their own brand weight. A lot of times when hospitals tie up with doctors, we are kind of trying to leverage the doctor's brand in the process of building our business. And it's a two-way street, right? So the doctor is leveraging the hospital's brand and the hospital is leveraging the doctor's brand. But I don't think there is any other profession where the brand of the individual matters so much, right? I also do Google searches about myself, but my career prospects don't depend on what shows up when my Google search comes up, unless there is something very negative about what I've done. But in case of doctors, I think this becomes extremely critical. Your career actually depends on what will show up when somebody comes and searches for say, Dr. Chaitanya, Dr. Prashant, or whoever kind of thing. See, one thing you should realize is that when the patient journey of identification of which doctor they will finally go and consult with, while they start with an online search or asking their friends and stuff, they will eventually do this, right? They will eventually come and search for your name and see what the internet says about you, right? So this is the step that will happen irrespective of what route the patient is following, whether they've come online first or they've gone and asked their friends and family first. But this is extremely critical. I can't emphasize this enough. You are a brand unto yourself, so you need to make sure that when somebody searches for you, the right things show up. Okay. Now, typically, when somebody searches for you, what are the things that can show up? Obviously, the GMB listing, the Google My Business listing that I mentioned earlier. Any website links that you're associated with will come up. And Google also gives a heavy amount of weightage for videos, right? So if you have created some videos and uploaded it on YouTube or Facebook, they will also start showing up. Now, how does this help? Obviously, when you put up videos and stuff on any specific topic. So, for example, you can see that this is a gynecologist that I've searched for, and they've put up a video saying what is gestational diabetes, right? All of this thing basically helps in telling your patient that that you're an expert in what you're talking about, right? So, for example, if you have videos that address preterm deliveries, about how do we take care of a preterm baby, neonatology, etc., etc. When somebody is searching for you, it will reflect to them that look, this doctor is a thought leader, he's an expert, and look at the videos that he's put on this thing. So videos becomes like one very important thing that that one should focus on, kind of a thing, right? Okay, I'm seeing that there are a few questions coming up. I'll just pick them up as I go forward. So, Dr. Asha, I will be talking about Just Dial and Practo in a bit, and I do agree that Practo is perceived to be a fairly biased organization. We will spend some time on that as well. Anyway, back to this. So, in terms of searches, I think these are the two most critical things, and this is from a hygiene perspective. You need to make sure that whenever somebody searches for your name, the right things show up. There are a lot of videos and all available. When somebody is searching for best pediatrician and stuff, just make sure that you are present on all the sites that show up in the first page of the search. So I would really like to ask you what comes up when you search for your own name, right? And what do you think is other things that you need to change about it? What are the areas that you need to focus on, kind of a thing? I think once you do a very quick search, you will already know the answers for yourself. So what are the actions that you should take as far as this point is concerned? I think the most critical action, and this is something that I still see most doctors lacking on, is that every doctor should have their own website. Okay. The good thing about Google is that if you have a website that says drchaitanyashravan.com, when somebody searches for Chaitanya Shravan, Dr. Chaitanya, your website will always show up on top, because Google gives extremely high weightage to a domain name which actually contains the name of the search that is happening, right? You might still end up seeing that Practo might be above you, or your hospital website might be above you, but as long as you have this one domain name to yourself and this website over there, you will definitely show up on the first page, and that has a lot of benefits. Now, besides just the fact that it will show up in the top 3-4 results, I think the important thing for you to think about is that here's one website where you control everything, right? You can't, if you're working in a hospital, you can't control everything that the hospital puts up. You can't control in what sequence they display the names. Maybe somebody else, your colleagues are rated higher than you, right? You can't control completely how Google shows up your name in the Google My Business listing. You can't control what Practo puts up on their website. But if you have your own website, you can completely control the information that shows up over there. And believe me, somebody who is searching for your name and finds your website will definitely pay it a visit, right? So the return on the investment of setting up your own website is going to be immense, kind of a thing, right? The other action item, as I mentioned earlier, would be to create a lot more content. Video content is being accepted greatly by Google and by customers, so you should make sure that you do a lot of that as well. Now, as I mentioned, I've been talking about this Google My Business again and again and again, because see, I mean, if you leave teleconsultation aside, hello? Any questions? Sorry. So if you leave online and video consultations aside, what you must understand is that healthcare is a very local business, right? Which means that most of your customers are going to come within the catchment area where your setup is. So maybe a 4 or 5 kilometer radius, whatever that is, right? And depending on the traffic in your city, then that radius keeps on shrinking. So for example, at least pre-COVID in Bangalore, the typical catchment for a clinic or a hospital was 4 or 5 kilometers, right? Because that's the amount of traffic we had. 6 years ago, this catchment was 12 kilometers, because it used to take 30 minutes for somebody to get from a point that was 12 kilometers away all the way till our hospital. Now that distance has come down to 4 or 5 kilometers just because of the traffic that we have, right? And because healthcare and your business is so local or catchment area driven, Google My Business becomes very, very important. Everybody has Google on their phone. Everybody has Google Maps on their phone. The first thing when somebody searches for saying best pediatrician, best gynecologist, etc. So Google will show up the maps listing right next to you, so that it's easier for them to get to that point. Hence, it's extremely important for you to have this Google My Business page set up, right? And as I mentioned earlier, this is completely free. You don't need to pay a penny for this to be set up. Now, typically, you will see that if you don't already have, if you've not already taken control of your site, of your Google My Business page, you will see that Google in your listing for the clinic will actually say claim this site, which means that you can click on that button, talk to Google, and they will help you in setting up the site as such. I mean, taking control of the site as a whole, right? And the typical procedure that is followed is that Google will send you an envelope with a certain PIN, OTP kind of a thing that is provided. It will be sent to this address. You will have to pick out that OTP and go and enter it into the Google platform, and then they will give you control of the site completely. So then you can change the name, you can make edits to the address, change hours, all of those things, right? Now let's just understand this Google My Business page as such. First thing is, on top, they will typically show the images that you provided. So all of these photos are usually the ones that either you or your customers are uploading, right? Or your patients are uploading. The second and the most important thing is the number of ratings that you have. Okay, so for example, you can see over here that Cloudnine Hospital in Old Airport Road is doing pretty well. They have 4.7 average rating, and there are about 3,000 odd Google reviews that you have. The more the ratings, the better. The higher the rating provided, even better, right? So I think in terms of just building your reviews and ratings, if there was one platform that you had to ask your customers to go and rate you on, your patients to go and rate you on, that has to be Google. I would give Practo and all lesser preference because I've seen consistently that even doctors who are rated lower on Practo actually have very high patient footfall. So Practo is important, but not super duper important. Google, on the other hand, is definitely important. Your ratings will drive the traffic to your clinic and stuff like that, right? So you should focus on this to a great extent. The other thing that shows up is the address, the contact location, the phone number, etc., etc. Make sure that this is updated properly, that it is easy for anybody to find you as such. I think, as I mentioned, right? So if your brand is strong enough, there is enough word of mouth happening, then it is important that there are sufficient that you're easy to find as far as Google is concerned. And then comes up the Q&A, which is basically about the question and answer section that is there on Google My Business. This is again one area where there'll be a lot of engagement by patients. They will go through this, and if there are any relevant questions over here, they will have a very tight look at it kind of a thing, right? So what are the action items over here? Make sure that you have claimed your own Google My Business listing, upload appropriate pictures and stuff, encourage your patients to provide reviews and ratings over here, and update answers on the platform, right? I think, as I mentioned, I'll reiterate this. Probably in this presentation, if there is one thing that is super critical, then it is this Google My Business page. And if you were to recommend your customers, your patients to go and review somewhere, I would always suggest that you ask them to review on the Google link rather than other places, right? So that's on Google My Business. Now I'll quickly just talk about paid marketing on Google. But honestly, my advice would probably be to not invest very heavily over here unless you're a large hospital and have a lot of money for paid marketing. So typically, as I mentioned, there are two types of ads that you can run on Google. One is basically the search ad, and the other one is something called Google Display Network. So for example, this is Times of India website, and all of this area that I'm highlighting with my cursor is basically ads that Google has helped place over there, right? And typically what would happen is, you would have noticed this yourself. If you, for example, have gone and visited the Amazon site, or you've gone and visited the Flipkart site, now on every website that you go to, you will keep having Amazon follow you and show you ads. That is something called retargeting, right? And that's a part of typically Google Display Network, but there are other display networks as well available in the market. Now, what are the actions over here? As I mentioned earlier, you cannot run ads directly promoting a doctor, but you can run clinic-based ads. In my opinion, it can be fairly expensive for a small setup to run ads on run paid marketing as such, right? But depends on how deep your pockets are, what kind of ROI you may expect from this. I would typically advise that you start with some kind of a small agency. There are a lot of these chotu-motu mom and pop shop kind of setups that help in marketing and generating leads for doctors, and that would be a good place to start. One of the things that you should definitely keep in mind is the kind of ROI that you're expecting from the effort, right? So Google will let you, I mean, I don't have time to go into that detail, but typically when you put in any search term or keyword, you can easily find out how much will Google charge for this, right? For everybody who clicks on this ad, what is the charge that will come up? And you can based on that make calculations saying how many people will finally land up on the page, how many people will click the ad, how many people will contact you, and how many people will finally visit you, right? So there is a funnel, and there will be drop-offs at every stage. Typically, for example, at Cloudnine, not in Cloudnine, but in my past experience, I've typically seen that if 10 people come and visit your website and say that they're interested in consulting you, finally 2 people will end up consulting you or coming for an appointment kind of a thing, right? Especially on paid marketing. So keeping that in mind, you should figure out if you're going to get the right ROI for it. There might be some specialities, some procedures where it makes a lot of sense to acquire a customer even for 3,000, 4,000 rupees. But if you're looking at something like pediatrics and say a vaccination which may cost you anything like 3,000, 4,000 rupees, your marketing spend should not be more than 200, 300 on acquiring that customer, right? Hence, I would usually think that this could turn out to be a fairly expensive route to go ahead. On the side, Dr. Asha is asking about how to change a bad comment by a patient. Now, the challenge basically is that there are different treatments for different platforms. So if somebody on this Google review goes and puts in a bad comment for you, you don't have any other route except for flagging it as it as a. I mean, okay, let's take a step back, right? So a bad comment could be either intentional, that really the patient visited you and for some reason they had a bad experience, and they're putting in a bad comment, or there could be a lot of fake also that happens. A lot of times your competitors will actually go and start putting negative reviews and negative comments on Google pages. Now, unfortunately, whenever there is a negative comment or if there is a fake comment, you can flag it to Google saying, hey, this comment is fake. But Google will take a very, very long time to remove the comment from its platform. On the other hand, Practo is very prompt on this. If there is a negative, bad review on Practo and you can justify why that is not a fair review, then Practo is fairly prompt on removing the comment for you. What I would typically advise is that whenever there is a comment that comes in, a bad negative review, always go and post a response on that, right? So you go and say, thanks so and so for your feedback. I appreciate you may not have had a good experience, but you must understand blah 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 kind of a thing. So either justify it or say that, look, you didn't visit my clinic, so this doesn't seem to be right. Please come and visit me again, etc., etc. So typically the best thing to do would be to go and respond on that. If it's a fake comment, I would suggest that go and highlight it to Google. And Google will take a little bit of time, and because of COVID, they've been delayed further. But Google will typically remove that comment from the platform if it is fake. So you need to highlight why it's fake, that you have data that they're not with you, and so on and so forth. But the response on the comment, especially if it's fake, then you should definitely go and say, dear, I don't have any records of you visiting the hospital. I believe that this is a fake comment kind of a thing. So most customers, at least if they come across that fake review, will see your comment over there and try to negate it and say that, okay, maybe this is a fake comment and not take it in that light, right? Yeah, so that was about Google. We spoke about the paid marketing part and so on and so forth. Okay, I think I'm running a little late, so I'll try to rush up from here onwards. Now, moving on to social media, I think the first thing that you need to figure out as far as your social media marketing strategy is that which is the right platform for you, right? So I've listed out the most important platforms, honestly. I think the TikTok and the the Reposo and all of those platforms are not very critical, at least right now. Of course, they will change over some period of time. So for example, I've tried to highlight over here about which platform you should look at depending on what your business is, what kind of patients you're getting, what specialty you're into, and what your target customer is like, right? So if you look at Facebook and Instagram, it's more of a general marketing platform. The audience will be typically between 20 years and 50 years of age. And this becomes a platform of choice for elective procedures, pregnancy, some level of multi-speciality and stuff like that, right? For electives, this is a very good platform. I've seen that in fertility and all, Facebook and Instagram works extremely well. Pediatrics, not so much. Perhaps you could try out a little bit and see, but it's not really a platform that you may want to focus so much on. On pregnancy, again, because it's a lifestyle choice kind of a thing, there is some amount of importance over here. On the other hand, as far as LinkedIn is concerned, LinkedIn is literally for professionals, right? So if you are a specialty where you depend to a great extent on referrals coming from other doctors, then I would definitely insist that you are active on LinkedIn, right? So for example, if you are, I've seen that fertility specialists are especially very active on LinkedIn because they know that other doctors are also there on LinkedIn. And if they're able to build their profile as being somebody who understands IVF very well, has very high success rate and so on and so forth, they see that they get a lot more recommendations from LinkedIn as such. So LinkedIn would be a platform that I would suggest you spend time on if your specialty depends to a great extent, or your procedures depend to a great extent on referrals coming in. Otherwise, I wouldn't suggest you waste time on LinkedIn. Just having your basic profile and basic updates over there is sufficient, right? Now, as far as Twitter is concerned, Twitter honestly is a platform for the upper strata or intelligentsia, right? So this is where like higher conversations happen, like more intellectual discussions happen and all. In my experience, this doesn't really work for healthcare. It works. I see ads on LinkedIn, on Twitter, because there are other healthcare companies that are trying to market to the CXOs of hospitals and all. But otherwise, from a pure patient acquisition and patient engagement perspective, Twitter is not really a platform that I would recommend. It is also very expensive. The amount of money you will have to spend to get like one lead, one like on a post, one engagement is much higher on Twitter as compared to Facebook and other places, right? So I think the main point over here is that when you're thinking about social media, you must start with figuring out which is the platform I'm going to put maximum amount of my energy on, right? And depending on the specialty that you're coming from and what kind of procedures typically come to you, you would have to make a call between these platforms, kind of a thing. Now, typically, what kind of content can you post? So first of all, I think you should start with creating a Facebook page for your clinic, for your hospital and stuff, if you don't already have that. Even if you are an individual practitioner, a clinic Facebook page is a great way of keeping in touch with your existing customers, right? There is some downside to it, but I will tell you about that shortly. Typically, the kind of content that most people would be posting would be around, topical wishes, right? So general posts for festivals, important occasions, so on and so forth. Then there might be expert comments that some important bill has been passed or some new news item is there, and then you're posting comments on that. But I think the most critical one for you to focus on would be the live sessions, right? So Facebook Live, Insta Live, these are basically like something that we call AMA, which is Ask Me Anything kind of sessions. So you hold a session on a certain topic, you do some amount of promotion around that, and you will see a lot of patients come and ask questions around this. The reason I think this is the most critical engagement that you can have on social media is twofold, actually. In our personal experience, we've seen that this ends up being the best tool as far as building a doctor's brand is concerned, right? So we do regular Facebook lives anchored on certain doctors. There will be a certain topic that will be promoted. The doctor will initially come and talk a little bit about the topic. So for example, let's say that the topic is around preterm babies, right? How to take care of your preterm baby. So in that case, the doctor would start with about a 10-15 minute high level Gyan session about what parents should keep in mind, what they should do, and so on and so forth. And that will typically be followed up by 45 minutes of, say, questions. And in some of these sessions, we've seen 140, 150 people coming up asking questions. The number of questions in one of the recent sessions went up to about 400, right? So that kind of engagement is very difficult for you to get in any other media. As I said, video is important, and a live video session is even better, right? Just as we have over here. I can see that we have a decent number of people on the session as well. So in terms of focus, as far as social media is concerned, if there was one thing that you should do regularly, I would say that you should do your every live Insta live kind of sessions as frequently as possible. The other reason why this is important is because of COVID and because everybody is now sitting at home. The engagement on these kind of sessions has just gone through the roof, right? Almost since April, we've seen that things that used to have X amount of engagement, X amount of attendees, now have 3x, 4x attendees for each session that we do. Right, so I can't emphasize the importance of this enough. In fact, as a very simple example, at Cloudnine, whatever Facebook lives we've done recently have shown at least 2.5, 3x more engagement as compared to normal, right? So this is something that you should definitely keep in mind. Now, what are the clear action items over here? Definitely make sure that you have a Facebook page available, an Insta page available for your clinic. Encourage your patients to like and follow the page. And make sure that you post general updates over here and do live sessions on important topics. One of the other areas that I've seen has worked for a lot of doctors, and that depends on how big your patient base is, that a lot of doctors actually create WhatsApp groups, right? So if you have a lot of, for example, mothers, parents who have like preterm baby delivered in the 36th week, or the baby is 3 months old, 6 months old, certain age group kind of a thing. There are a lot of doctors create these WhatsApp groups where they put all of these patients together, right? It helps in 2-3 ways. One, a lot of questions stupid questions, basic naive questions that come up, the group is able to answer by itself. And you are there to have oversight on it to make sure that nobody is giving the wrong advice and stuff. And more importantly, once you've logged up somebody in this WhatsApp group with you, there is almost 100% guarantee that the patient is not going to go and see any other doctor or any other clinic, right? They just feel so engaged and they feel like they're a part of a community kind of a thing. The reason I brought that up over here is because the Facebook page that you create and having your patients like or follow that page has a similar effect. But of course, because of the amount of inertia that has been built in or the overload of social media is concerned, it doesn't have the same amount of power as creating, a WhatsApp group with your patients kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. I think I'll take another 10-15 minutes. I'm not even 10 minutes. Maybe I'll try to rush up a little bit. About 5 minutes, we'll try to close most of this. So as far as paid marketing on social media is concerned, there are typically two things that you can do. I'm again simplified this to a great extent. The first thing is that you can run proper lead generation, brand building campaigns. Right? So you log into the Facebook ad dashboard, you set up who your audience is, what are the kind of people you want to show ads to, what is the media of the ad, what is it that you're ready to spend, etc., etc. A fairly complex thing to do, right? And then the other option is about boosting posts. So for example, if you say you do a Facebook live session, then you can just put in 200-300 bucks into Facebook and say, promote this to the people who did not attend or people, friends of people who liked my page kind of a thing, right? So I would typically recommend that if you have to do paid marketing on social media and you're doing it yourself, then do some amount of post boosting and stuff. But stay away from the lead generation and the brand building campaigns. If you want to go this path, then it would be a good idea to get like an agency or somebody on board and get them to work on this, because it becomes a bit complex for you to run these campaigns by yourself kind of a thing. I'm addressing the local clinic, the smaller setup kind of a thing, right? Okay, now getting on to the listing platforms. Dr. Asha has asked one more question around promotion through YouTube sessions. So what I have, and I'm definitely biased by my own personal experience. As far as YouTube sessions are concerned, I've seen that YouTube ads are good for building brand, right? So if you create like a small video and run it on YouTube, then you will see that if you have a negative image, then that gets corrected to some extent. But YouTube live sessions, so YouTube also does live, just like Facebook does live. YouTube live, I don't think is as effective as Facebook live, primarily because in Facebook you have a very clear audience defined, right? So people on the Facebook platform are there. You can exactly target and say, these are the people I want to show the live to. These people I don't want to show the live to. In YouTube, the is for live sessions is very search based, right? So if somebody is searching for say a session on preterm babies and all, then you may start showing up over there. But in general, I would think that Facebook Live would be a lot more effective as such. Okay, fine. I'll try to move a little faster now. So again, on the listing platforms, I've just picked up the Practo example. I'm not sure how much of the part before this you were already familiar with, but I'm dead sure that as far as Practo, you're extremely familiar with what's there. But I still thought it would be incomplete if I didn't pick this up. So as you can see, in a typical Practo page, you will have the total rating, which is in some kind of a weighted average of the number of people who've rated you and what they've rated. Now, interestingly, what I've seen is that some of the top doctors who have the best footfall, best number of customers showing up for them, they may not have the best rating over here, right? I've seen a lot of doctors who have 89% rating, 92% rating, and still their OPDs are completely full. That basically shows that while the patient is looking at this rating, it is not a lower rating is not pushing them away from going to the doctor kind of a thing. But if you're starting up in your career, if you're at a mid-level, I think this is something that you should definitely focus on. Make sure that you have good ratings and good feedback for you, right? The stories of feedback are long text feedback provided by your patients. I think that is very, very critical. People do go through it. A few things that you should remember as far as feedback is concerned is that number one, it is very easy to get negative feedback. It's very difficult to get positive feedback. Most unhappy customers don't need to be nudged. Unhappy patients don't need to be nudged to go and provide a feedback. They will do it on themselves. But happy patients will really need to be pushed to give feedback, right? So that's definitely an uphill task. The second important thing is that typically, and this is an established fact, typically patients, when they are choosing a doctor, will look at negative comments more than the positive comments. So whenever they have like 4 doctors to shortlist from, they will ignore the positive comments, but they will definitely go and check what was the negative thing that that the customer spoke about, right? So hence the feedback is very critical. This is as applicable to Google as it is to Practo kind of a thing, right? Anyway, the other part is about address. Again, as I said, hygiene matter. You should make sure that all platforms have your right contact details, the right clinic address, and so on and so forth. And then the Practo listing also carries the clinic fees. Now, one of the interesting thing that I have noticed in my experience is that how you organize the clinics in your listing. So, for example, out here, if I click on more, right, the more button below, then the other clinics that this doctor is practicing on will also show up. How you organize these clinics in the sequence will make a big difference in who comes up where, right? If you have a clinic where you're charging 700 rupees, and that's not a clinic that you want to attract patients to, and you have another clinic where you're charging 800 rupees, you will see that most patients will show up at the clinic that is cheaper. They will also show up at the clinic which shows up first, right? So you should make sure that the listing is based on your preference on where you want your patients to show up, right? Practo also does paid engagements, right? So they used to have something called Practo Reach earlier. Off late, they have, I don't think they're promoting Practo Reach as much, but they will help you get paid leads. And the arrangement that they typically have is that, you know, they will give you an X cost. So for example, 300 bucks, and they will say that I will get you X number of appointment bookings kind of a thing. Now, in my experience, that 300 bucks can vary up and down, and that's number one. So depending on what your specialty is, they'll come back and tell you that I could get you one appointment for X kind of rupees sort of a thing. Number two, they are only guaranteeing you an appointment booking. It is highly likely that the patient books the appointment and doesn't show up at your place, right? So we've seen that somewhere close to 15% of the patients will not finally show up for the appointment. And they're also very clear about that. They know that there will be a significant drop off after somebody books an appointment kind of thing, right? Number three, how well the platform performs, how well Practo performs for you on this kind of an engagement depends on the total amount of money that you're going to spend with them, right? So they use these complex algorithms, this entire intelligence in terms of which customer gets pushed to you, and hence the platform needs has a certain amount of learning curve, right? So this is typically an AI/ML kind of algorithm. So it takes some time for the platform to understand who should be pushed to you and who should not be pushed to you, right? So if you're doing this on a very small budget of 3,000, 4,000 rupees, or even 10,000 rupees, it might not really work out for you. Typically, for it to work out for any hospital or provider, you will have to spend in a couple of lakhs for it to make sense for you on a monthly basis, right? So that is an overview about Practo. Again, what are the key actions to be taken over here? Number one, ensure all of your information is up to date, right? Encourage all of your patients to provide positive review. However, as I mentioned earlier, if you had to choose between Google and Practo, I would always choose Google higher. But that said, your patients are repeat patients; they will keep coming up again and again. So even the Practo ratings matter. So you should get them to rate you here as well. Finally, review your feedback regularly on Practo. So Practo is a little more doctor friendly as compared to Google. So if there is a negative review on Practo, you can go and respond over there. On every comment, you should actually respond to show that you actually care about your patients and you care about this thing. Whether it's a positive comment or a negative comment, you should go and post a response over there. But if it's a negative comment, definitely reach out to Practo and tell them what can we do to remove this, right? If by any chance it's a fake comment, Practo will promptly review it. You just need to provide them data saying, look, this patient never showed up at my clinic and I can prove that to you, right? So that is something that Practo will do. Practo is also a lot more flexible as far as doctors are concerned. So any kind of changes as far as your clinic locations, listing, fees, address, any of that stuff, they will bend over backwards to make it happen for you. So, and they will do it fairly quickly, unlike Google, right? So that's about it from my side. Just before I conclude, I just have a few parting thoughts to go on with. I think the most important thing is that word of mouth still is the most powerful marketing tool in healthcare, right? So irrespective of whatever marketing spend you do, you cannot replace the experience that the patient had. What this basically means for you is that there is no point spending heavily on marketing if you're not able to provide a good experience to the patient. if these patients are going back and not saying good things about you, if you're not able to retain them, then all of this money is a waste, right? So be very clear that word of mouth and patient experience will trump everything else, right? The other fortunate or unfortunate thing, and I think you understand this as well as anybody else, or you understand this better than me. So, incidentally, my father himself is a gynecologist, right? And he used to practice in the army, so he's in a government setup and stuff. I've seen the world change significantly from when I used to see my father practice and now. The important thing that I have realized is that while clinical acumen is great, it is very important that you have extremely good clinical chops. How you interact and engage with the patient actually is more important, right? We have seen this across the board. Most of our negative reviews that we see on any of these platforms are not about some clinical problem that happened, but basically about the patient complaining that the doctor was rude to them, did not spend sufficient time, etc., etc. I think your clinical acumen is kind of a given, but unfortunately, that is not sufficient for you to retain and get patients, right? So that entire one-to-one interaction, the bedside manners, that matters a lot more than your clinical acumen. Third, make sure that it is very easy for patients to find you. Build a website, have a Facebook page. If somebody, I think the worst situation that you can be in is that you have a patient who wants to come to you, and there is no means for them to get to you, right? So make sure that while everything that you do on building awareness and building your brand goes on, you have to be extremely easily accessible to the patient, which means that you have your website, your phone number is listed, you have enough ways for any patient to reach out to you, as far as possible. Make sure that the hygiene is in place. So all of these platforms, do spend some time, go and look at it, see what happens when you search it on Google, when you Google your name, what are the links that show up, etc., etc. One important thing that I missed highlighting earlier was that a lot of times what will happen is that if there is a medical legal case, or if there is some kind of a litigation that is going on against you, and I mean, it is healthcare, it is bound to happen, there will be issues that will happen. And if that gets some kind of a news coverage, you will see that when somebody searches your name, that news article will show up like in the first 3 or 4 links, right? If there is any coverage of any kind of MLC that has happened with you. The bad thing is that Google doesn't forget. So it is difficult to erase this. It is going to be there forever. The good thing is that it can be fixed, and the way to fix it is that again, I won't go into the details of how you do it right now. But if you engage an agency or somebody, right, the simplest thing to do is that you create more content and more information, so that that negative article basically goes on to the second page, then third page, and then so on and so forth, right? So there is something that is very easily doable. This is something that various agencies specialize in, and I think if there is any such article that says bad things about you, or is based on an MLC or a litigation that you had, it is worthwhile to invest some amount of money on getting this done. An agency will take anything between 1.5 to 2 months to fix this problem for you. That page will go on all the way till the end, kind of thing. Yeah. That's about it from my side. The only other things, as I mentioned earlier, was that unhappy patients are always vocal, silent happy patients are not. So encourage your happy patients to definitely go and post their opinion online. And finally, if you're looking at paid marketing, I would suggest that you engage an agency or somebody to help you out rather than getting into it by yourself, right? At least initially, before you can build some acumen on this. Okay, I think I've taken way more time than I was supposed to, but Dr. Prashant, this is the end of my presentation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Wonderful presentation. And
Prashant?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, very nice. I think so. Prashant, I requested Mr. Ganesh. I think so, Ganesh, to do with you and what is it? Moderator, as a moderator. Prashant, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So once Chaitanya is done, Chaitanya beautiful. So he has told about Google. He has told about beautifully. He has told about the what is it? Paid and non-paid. So everybody was comfortable with non-paid thing because easy and this thing. Paid also he put in his recommendation in the last. So very good, Chaitanya. And more than anything else, what to put, what not to put, you have explained to us. And almost all whoever logged in, they are more dedicated, wants to open the hospital, dedicated people. So it's a very good. Ganesh, what you feel? Is it correct as a moderator? Ganesh?
Sir, absolutely, sir. Basically, digital marketing you cannot do away with because the people who come to hospitals or nursing homes or the population which we address to is getting more and more engaged digitally. In fact, a lot of things before even they come. Number one, information is always very important to make the right choice, and that's where if of course, I can never take away the fact that people come to hospital for doctors and for the care. And, as Chaitanya also said, it's about feedback. That's the core. But still, how do we help people know about it? And there is a lot of people movement. People move from cities to new places for work and whatever. And, when they come to a new place, how do they get to know? And it's an aware population, young and aware population, which typically maternity and newborn care newborn care centers deal with, because while chronic diseases or cardiovascular diseases kind of look at the more aged people, the newborn or pregnancy is about young people. So young people almost always are internet savvy, and they are curious about information. They want to go and understand before they make a decision. Even to make a small purchase, these days they obviously go and look up to Amazon, Flipkart, and compare and figure out all those information. So it's important to have digital marketing as a core, in anything that we deliver, and it's across the places. It's just not metros or towns. It's also in tier 2, tier 3 geographies that we have young and aware people, and that's the population that you deal with as neonatologists, pediatricians, or obstetricians. So I certainly believe the value of it. Chaitanya did take everyone through a very comprehensive guidance of what to be done, how to be done. Of course, there are some questions which I would certainly like to bring for the benefit of the audience, as much as
Later,
my own
Ganesh,
understanding. Because
can we do later after the Satish Ghanta's talk?
no, absolutely, no problem. No, I mean, I'll just wait for people to ask, and certainly I will, bring up some of those questions more as an, learning as to how we have to deal with this, because it's very important. Then we get into this, it's very important that we manage this well enough, and to be able to showcase the real value of the service that's being provided. So I'll wait for Dr. Satish to complete.
Yeah. Now, I'll request we have a very good, very talented, and more than anything else, hospital owners, Dr. Shekhar Subbaya, Kangro Care Hospital, and Adarsh Somashekar, and Mr. Srikanteshwara. I think so. Panelists are there here. Hello, sir. Everybody. Panelists are there. I think so, because I have seen everybody's logged in. We will all wait. Dear panelists, we will all wait for the Satish Ghanta's talk. Later, we will take it as an all the way. And Ganesh also will be there with 30 years experience with the digital marketing, and more than anything else, hospital innovation, interiors, hospitality in rural, periphery, and in the urban area. So, Dr. Satish Ghanta, I think so everybody knows. He is already told, like a Shakuntala Devi in the hospital management, and more than anything else, he is a very humble man and kind, and he will always hit the what we want. Point. So over to you, Dr. Satish Ghanta. Please make it more comfortable. You have 1 hour, doesn't matter. Go slow, because whoever logged in, they want really listen to you and listen to Chaitanya. Chaitanya has done, you have not taken a long time. You made us understand for the doctors, paid, non-paid. We will bug you later after some time, Mr. Chaitanya. Over to you, Satish Ghanta.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dinakar Garu, Dr. Prashant, and the complete NNF Karnataka organizing team. This has been certainly beautiful, and over the last couple of months, we've been doing this, and I don't think any other NNF branch, each state's branch, I don't think it's as vibrant as yours. So certainly all of you, you're all the nation is proud of you, and certainly it's an envy. As they say in the old Onida ads, neighbors envy, owners pride. So it's certainly a pride for all the NNF Karnataka branch as well. Without wasting much time, I think I just wanted to say that Chaitanya's talk was absolutely very, very good, very eloquent, very well spread out. I don't think I'll be able to match that in terms of the kind of sort of detailing that he has done. So what I do right now is I'll just go through with how important is the branding. Do you need branding in the first place? What's branding? Do you need branding for your hospital? And how is that going to help, especially inside the hospital? And if you have specialties, how it's going to help? So something more practical. I'm not going to take a lot of time. I have about 15, 16 slides, so I'm not going to take more than 25, 30 minutes. I'd rather engage sort of at the end. So I'll try to finish my presentation in about 25 to 30 minutes, or even earlier than that. So I'll share my yeah. Is it visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, yeah. So the topic which was allotted was, does hospital elevation, interiors, and hospitality, do they matter for a hospital's brand or a status? So first, I think we need to know branding in healthcare, and what are the major reasons why we do need a strong brand and why do we need to brand it. See, in the good old days, who needed a brand? 20 years, 30 years earlier, people just came to you because you were there, and not because they actually chose you. That's very, very different. But now, at that time, the marketplace was very, very simple, and if you were a physician, you were one among the elite few. Those days are all gone. But now, the modern day healthcare marketplace is very, very, very competitive. You see, in our branch in pediatrics, in perinatology, it's extremely, extremely competitive. Okay, but there's certainly place for everyone. But you need ways and means to stick your neck out and say, "Hey, I'm here." So the couple of things is, you may think you're doing everything to sharpen your edge, but there's a lot of things happening. Earlier we used to say, yes, you need to advertise a lot. Yes, as a hospital, you're there. Maybe if you haven't had a brand, all you need was advertising. So you had to have pamphlets, and then you go and reach out to every doctor or the community. Well, it was very difficult, very expensive as well. Certainly, you can talk about your services, both professional as well as your support services. And then again, the new facilities that you're adding up or upgrading. And even for that matter, adopting the latest technology to improve efficiency as well as appeal to tech-savvy stakeholders. See, all these things are there. It's very, very difficult, and it's very important. But are you really investing in a brand? Or are you investing your time, your effort, and your money as well in brand building? Because see, it doesn't really matter how how there is a certain extent. Yes, it's important that you're good, but your goodness to reach out, your goodness needs to reach out to a lot more people. The goodness of your team or the effectiveness of your team should reach out to a lot more people. So that is important. You want to do greater good to the community, not only doing good at the same time financially is going to help you. Certainly it has to reach out more. So how much you have to offer to your prospective patients or partners if actually no one knows who you are, or if you're limiting your perimeter to a very, very small area. So that is extremely important. So the decision to deliberately address your branding puts you ahead of 4 out of 5 of your competitors. Maybe you have a good, you are good, you have got a very very good team, but let's say the other competitors are advertising or they've built up a nice brand, they've done good digital marketing. Certainly you have to understand that they are almost leaps and bounds ahead of you. So that is very very important. The more you work for it, the further you raise in terms of both visibility as well as credibility. So that's very very important. So what's a brand? So what's in a brand in the first place? So branding should not be confused with your marketing, advertising, or your public relations. So that was something that used to be there, and it's there as well right now. So those are ways of communicating your brand. Your marketing, your advertising, on your public relations is how do you communicate your brand to these people. But what is more important? First, if you need to communicate your brand, first you've got to build it. You've got to build it. It's got to have an identity, and it's got to have a certain personality, certain values, and some certain traits as well. Like goodwill, see, your brand is an active business asset. It provides differentiation as well as shareholder value and longevity. And when you see, when brands get taken over, when mergers happen and acquisitions happen, you have to understand that it's not only they give value to the amount of money that you've made. That means how much of money that you've made, or what is the value in terms of your assets, your financial assets. They even attribute a value to your brand. They attribute a value to your goodwill. So it is worth its weight in money. So brand is certainly important, and that's a very very active business asset. So as I said, good brands, they are very memorable. That means they need to be catchy, very very captivating. It has to be relatable, and it has to be likable as well. That's very very important. It's not just your logo. Yes, you need to have a logo and some sort of a slogan or a phrase attached to that, but branding is it's got to be instantly recognizable. So you have to have a thought. Maybe you need to sit with your people who actually help you make brands, for especially the newcomers. You could sit with them, tell your ideas, your thoughts, then you could brainstorm over a couple of days, and you could actually build up a brand. And for people who've already built their brand and they found themselves not doing so well over the last couple of years, there is something called rebranding. Rebrand yourself. So with a strong brand, you've got a greater control over your business future. It's very, very important. So what are the 6 key elements for building your brand? So obviously we are into the hospitals. So it's got to be a majority of the time it's called B2C. That means directly from the business, which is ours, into the customers rather than another hospital. So it's basically B2C. So the brand promise and purpose is very, very important. What is the message that your brand speaks? That emotional connect to your target audience. So that is extremely important. So you need to think about this to actually get out a good brand. How do you build that brand? How do you name it? How do you build that brand? And how are you going to take it into the market? So what is the perception? What do you want them? What do you want the parents? What do you want the families to think about you? See, let us say it's pediatrics and maternal care. So both pediatrics as well as maternal care, or the perinatal thing. So there are, how do you want the people to perceive your brand? It could be a niche area, or a boutique hospital, or a boutique delivery facility where you want to where you're doing some high-end delivery place. We have a place called Birthplace in Hyderabad, and when they've started, they didn't have very it's not a lot about doctors who have been very very good or who had a very good name. It's all started from picking up a name and engaging a good an agency for that. And when they come with a name called birthplace, so this is something that is going to relate to the people. This is going to something to that's going to be relatable to the the parents, to the families. Okay, this is something to do with birthing and something to do with exclusiveness or exclusivity. So that's your boutique kind of a thing. So do you want to market yourself into that way, or there are so many other facilities which do it for a very, very low cost? In terms of numbers, they believe in building their numbers rather than giving this exclusivity or the boutiqueness to the facility, like the Life Springs hospitals. So they have good quality of care, but the ambience and the whole thing is not as much as the other things. So what is important is how do you want the people to perceive you, your brand to be perceived? And obviously your brand should have a value, you should have some core values, and that should be consistent, and this should be an emotion that your brand seeks to embody. So it's your value, your consistency, your emotion, they need to speak for you. And as I said, it's got to have a personality. And who are the audience you're trying to engage to? So it's the audience between sort of 20, 25 to 40, 45. So that is the thing. So how do you engage this audience? You need to have a team to help you through this one as well. So, and when you have, when you've done this, you need to position yourself as well. You need to have one or two statements which define your brand position. You need to define the target audience, who the brand competes against. And as I said here, are you wanting to do it in the high-end niche market area, or you want to do it for the general public and you want to believe in more sort of numbers? That's very, very important. So it's also important to know how effective branding transforms healthcare business into winners in a lot of ways. So here, as I said, maybe 15, 20, or even 25 years earlier, absolutely none of these things were there, because there were only few brands, there were only few kind of hospitals around. But now with the competition, there's a lot more need for us, or for us to assert ourselves, or as I said, you need to stick your necks out and say, yes, we are there and we are certainly better in this, or we are certainly better in that. So how is this effective branding? How does it transform your healthcare business? So number one is a strong brand. It sharpens your competitive edge and it makes an emotional bond with the patients. It's instantly recognizable and it resonates with the people, that lifts your message above the white. So there's a lot of noise happening, when they talk about hospitals. Yes, that is something that need to resonate as well. And your brand, it needs to build that trust. And people should know, yes, that it's less risky, and at the same time it offers better value. And it also actually, you're not only building your brand for your patients, you're also building for brand for your building your employees. You want the best doctors to join you, and you want to attract the best talent in terms of the management people inside the hospital as well. So that trust is built, and the value of the brand also, it certainly helps there. And that brand, it should directly speak to the patients, and it should build the customer trust and the confidence as well. And it also helps you to relieve your financial pressure, because once the customer loyalty is there and the company value goes up, obviously, and if the numbers come in more and more, obviously it relieves the pressure. And at the end of the day, if it's a strong brand, and if you're seriously wanting to acquire more, if you're a good brand, obviously it helps you to acquire more, number one. And on the other hand, let us say after a while, you want to relinquish it and you want to sell it off to somebody. And as I said earlier, a good brand of your hospital, certainly it's going to be valued more if the brand is more, if there's a good brand equity, and if there's a lot of goodwill happening, certainly it's going to fetch much more, at least a good 15 to 20% more than what is actually worth. So now, we all discussed that yes, branding is extremely important and you need to get to that as well. Now, how important is your exteriors, or how important is your internal branding? So now that we've built a brand, we should understand that yes, how is it going to help further, especially in terms of internal or interior branding. So we all know that, all of us have had comments from the patients saying that, doctor, we've had to wait long times, for us to see you. So that's very, very common in the hospital place, isn't it? So what we need to understand is use this time where the patients are actually waiting in the queue, in the outside, at the lobby, at the waiting place. That is where you need to utilize it, and you need to anchor your brand image very subtly, but yet strongly. You need to sow it in your patient's mind. And this is where your internal or your interiors matter a lot. Okay. So the marketing and these branding efforts should not just stop with bringing the patient to the hospital. See, just now Chaitanya has spoken at length about how it helps, how digital marketing helps, how word of the mouth helps, how referral doctors help sort of to bring patients to you. But once they come to your doorstep, once they are inside your hospital, it's extremely important to, it's not about that visit, it's about trying to impress on the patients and trying to help them to come for the next visit as well. So they should not just stop, at the doorstep or make one visit. They should be able to relate to you, and they should be able to come again and again. They should be also incorporated or integrated into your matrix. So that is where your internal branding is as important as the best marketing strategy, because retaining, there's a beautiful phrase which is used in cricket. So what they say is a run saved is almost as a run scored. So if the digital marketing people or the marketing people or your goodness brings in one patient, yes, that's, one run scored. You trying to accrue those runs and trying not to, let them go away, that's a run saved or a customer or a patient saved. You need to add to that. You should not lose your patients. So how do you not lose your patients apart from you doing a good job as a doctor? I think here internal branding helps a lot. Okay, so why not use the waiting physical space as a place that messages that you care? You need to give that message that you are concerned about your well-being. Okay, it's an important element to make your patient's treatment experience, that experiment should be much more worthwhile. Okay, so the first thing is it helps patients. Obviously, whatever branding we do, it's going to help patients. So you need to invest in them. So we need to have appealing signboards on the wall, attracts the conscious mind. We know that. So we need to have, let us say it's pediatrics and OBG. So the different subspecialties that you have, the different kinds of work that you do, if you have them on the wall in a beautiful way, I think that's going to speak volumes of yourself, volumes. Because sometimes we can't speak good about ourselves, right? Oh, I'm the best doctor, I'm the best, I do this best possible way. But if somebody else does it for you, it's very, very subtle and it looks very nice. So if one of those things are hanging on your walls, or if there's a theme attached to that, that's fantastic. And it also promotes these positive vibes through your surroundings as well. And it should feel in such a way that whatever you wish to say through those posters or that ambience, it should say that yes, they need to de-stress the patient, tell them that how many patients you've treated like this, and then how many critical care cases you've handled. So obviously that's going to help the patient in a big way. You need to tell your brand's achievements, and once that is known, the reliability factor with them is very, very high. So showcase all your knowledge, all your accolades. Let us say a group of your team has multiple accolades that you've had, or multiple gold medals, or this has been chosen as the best, or some other newspaper have said some clippings or some difficult treatments that you've been doing compared to the others. So these are the things that you could sort of highlight in your internal areas. And then how is it important to the employee, the people who are actually working, the management team who is actually working inside your hospital? There, the interiors and your employment branding, they do different processes. They go hand in hand, because it's not only the doctors, we need to be good. See, many a times patients say, doc, so I'm happy to come to you. I'm very, very happy. You are the best. You take care of us very well. But we're not happy with the front office. We're not happy with the waiting space. These are the areas. So it's not only you. You need to understand that, okay, it's okay, I'm good, and it doesn't, none of the other things matter. It's very, very wrong. So now, see, that was once upon a time where, it's only thing matters is your how the doctors treat, and that's about it. But it's not that now. It's all about the whole experience, right from the time they enter into the hospital, right from the time the front office guys receive the patient to where they are being seated. All these things are points of impact where they make an opinion about your brand. See, very, very important. They need to make a good opinion about yourself as a doctor. That is in your hand. You could easily do that by, giving the best, talking in the best possible way and treating in the best possible way. But what is important is it's all the others have to do the same thing. Your employees, your security at the front door, your front office reception, or your floor managers, they all have to make the patients feel at home. That is exact. They are your vision partners. So they have to be a part of the whole thing. And your brand strength is going to help your employees as well. They are the ones who are going to sort of your organizational goals, your values and beliefs. They need to propagate that. See, we can't tell about that all the time. It's the team of people who are in the background. We are the face, but there's so many of them in the background. Those people need to talk about you. Our interiors, our employees, everything need to speak to them. So what is brand positioning? The right usage of all your brand colors and assets are very, very important. So when you make a brand, when you make the logo, when you make the brand, the colors that you use, and the theme that you are using around, in fact, the guy who did it for me, he even suggested me a font. Absolutely, the same font is what we used, over the last 11 years. So it's not only that is the font, the color palette that you use, it's a lot of things. You need to use the right symbolism and make sure your interiors are in coordination with the whole identity and the style. Many a times I see in one area you enter, there's a Mickey Mouse cartoon and everything. And then somewhere else, it's Avengers, and somewhere else it's flowers and this thing. That's not the right thing. So you need to have a palette. I'll share you an example with my team, how they have done. Each of the floor had a separate color palette, had a separate unique. So one floor had magenta color. It's that uniqueness is there. And with the magenta, they had to, they planned it with a kind of animals or birds or plants. That's the kind of thing. Suppose in the ICU, how did my guy advise, sir, this is an ICU. ICU is all about, you want to give them the hope that they want to come back to life. So the theme of our ICU was butterflies. So each of the ICU bed had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So each of the butterfly was different in all the bed. So as per NABH, you had to label all your beds, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you had to label. So instead of being just the label, it was the label with a different kind of a butterfly. The second one was a different kind of a butterfly. So it gives a good thing. Butterfly is a sign of life, is a sign of vibrancy, is a sign of being good, is a sign of being sort of nice and fresh. So that is the kind of thing which the brand adds to the whole dimension. So it's not just the color theme it's just the whole the concept of that. Okay. So the next thing is your numbers. You need to speak about your numbers. Okay. So in the area, let us say, well, if it's in the ICU or in the OP area or in the reception, it's always important that the interiors are very, very well. It's not about the cost. It's not about the cost. See, you can have very, very expensive interiors, but if there's no theme, it's all of no use. Or you could do it simple with a good taste, but you need to have a theme to that. Let us say if it's an ICU floor, you need to have a theme, as I just said. And on outside where the patients are waiting, you could just write down what are the number of patients or what is the volume load that we have treated, what are the kind of patients that we've managed, and what are the number of lives or children that we've touched. All those things are very, very important. And this is what actually helps the parents, the grandparents, all of them to invest their trust in you. You could even have, let us say it's premature baby. You could have a nice gallery of all the children who've been there, who've been treated, how were they at birth and how were they when they were discharged, and at the first birthday and later on. That is extremely important, and then also you need to honor your hospital staff, who is the best physician of the month. It could be taken on rotation, who's the best nurse this month, and who's the best caretaker or the aya or the front office person. This would give, the even the your the admin people some sort of happiness. They'll be happy that you're including them in the whole process. So, and at the same time, the parents who are seeing this, they also get impressed. You know what, this is a good hospital, this is a good brand where they're trying to involve everybody as well. So you need to bring out your organization values as well as your traits in appealing and innovative ways to your patients and your parents as well. So you could also increase your referrals through your interior branding. Whenever the referral doctors come, they can gain more confidence and increase your reliability because they will put their trust in you. So you need to make optimum usage of your interior space to tell your referrals that you will certainly deliver the promise and much more. So what is very important is you need to let your wall talk. That is the language of reassurance. So the interior branding, as I said, it's wholesome. It's a very, very comprehensive thing. And you need to give your parents, your children, your grandparents, you should give them more than one reason to trust you. So that is extremely important. And the best perk that interior branding offers and others don't is that the consumers don't feel influenced or forced when they intake content on their own. See, usually when you try to bombard people with advertisements, they always have a saying, no, I don't want to see this. It's always constant advertising. Being a hospital, how can they advertise so boldly and so, vulgarly? But that's not the case when they come inside. They've come on their own free will. And here is you need to, when they go out of the hospital, they need to go with a good feel, very, very good feel about your hospital. So, and mind you, what I've learned down the line is it's not just the doctor who's going to make a good impression on the patient's mind. It's your interiors. And mind you, it's not just the money that you spent on your interiors. It is also what the whole theme, what is the whole sort of palette that you give, what is the whole message that you give across with the ambience as well. And testimonials, these are fantastic. Apart from your awards, your accolades, the case studies that you've managed, the complicated ones that you've managed, they can be positioned through your through interior branding. The patient's testimonials can be placed near your hospital lobby, or that so that when they are waiting, they can engage themselves in these testimonials. They can see what is happening and they can see a proof. A picture is worth 1,000 words, they say. When they see a child going out well, so that is extremely important. The fact that people effortlessly consume this displayed communication, it makes this internal branding very, very effective. So that's why it's extremely important. It's extremely important to understand that your interiors are valuable and you need to have it. Again, as I say, it's not about the money. It's about your thought process. You need to put your time, you need to put your energy. Your time and energy will help you to create a good interior, and it's not necessarily the money. The next thing is, let us say we are doing pediatrics and OBG. You need to understand that, yes, there is so much of hospitals around. How do you compete with the big guns? You need to understand, and how do you need to compete with your peers? You need to understand that you need to have something more than what the others can offer. You need to do something more. Let us say in neonatology, everybody is doing neonatology, but maybe I can do a notch more. Let us say you do nitric, you do high frequency. I think you could always talk about that. Or let us say, apart from doing OBG and this thing, you add on infertility to that, or subspecialties in neonatology. Yes, otolaryngology along with ENT, or that is ENT along with neonatology. Let us say neurology in the newborn area. So it's just those kind of things. If you let the specialty specific focus, certainly it's going to be a big boon. So it will push your competitive edge. You have to be one step above or one step ahead of the others. So you need to have some sort of a a special feather in your cap. Let us say in our hospital, our specialties are extremely sort of competitive, because we have the best hemato-oncologist. The first hemato-oncologist in town in Hyderabad city is with us. The first pediatric nephrologist, Dr. Mehul, he's with us. So if I don't focus on this, and if I don't say that, yes, guys, they are the best and they are with us, then I'm not branding myself well. So it's extremely important. You need to leverage your best capabilities. You need to talk about the best services that you have. And this is going to help attract new patients as well. 70% of the patients are generated through word of mouth. That's the statistic which is there. And you need to, yes, word of mouth is extremely important. But what's important is when they come here, you need to show them something unique that they want to, that they want to stick on with you. That is a way you could increase your referral partners as well. So, and most important thing is hospitality. Now, the most important thing here, I would say, gone are the days where hospital is just a hospital or a healthcare facility. No, now it's all about hospitality. So, but 4-5 years back, I would tell you an example of a boutique healthcare facility has started, and they were wanting us to sort of help them in terms of specialty services. So whenever I had to go to that facility, it's a boutique delivery facility, and they were charging a huge amount. When everybody else was charging around 80,000 to 1 lakh for delivery, that's the time these people were charging about 2 or upward of 2 lakhs per delivery. So, but they had something different. When I used to park my car and used to come inside, if there's rain, right from the entry, the security person used to make sure that they come with an umbrella. So it makes you feel nice. It makes you feel wanted. And when you go in, they offer you a glass of water or a PET bottle of water. Well, that is if you don't ask for it. You get offered. That is important. And if you don't, and if you actually ask for a glass of water, they might even give you a juice. You feel nice. You feel nice. And I was asking with the promoter, he had a very funny comment to tell me, sir, actually this concept of offering juice, it's sort of many people have actually commented on that, but actually, sir, the whole month, the whole bottles of juice that I've bought, it costed me only 20,000. But if I had to do the same kind of marketing, if I had to have one hoarding, it might cost even 1.5 to 2 lakhs in a big place. So these are the things, hospitality is important. How do you invest on your hospitality? That means this right from the security which comes there, right from the front office people who greet the patients. They need to, they should feel wanted. They should feel, yes, I'm coming with a disease, or if it's, if it's obstetrics, it's just, a different kind of a thing. So it's ideal to have a separate kind of a entrance to both the pediatrics as well as the OBG, because here in pediatrics usually sickness, whereas in OBG it's something different. It's more of a lifestyle and a natural way, because pregnancy is not disease, isn't it? So once you get there, the kind of feel that you get, the kind of warmth that you have, and once you get admitted also, if you have a one-on-one care, the kind of they appoint you a manager on a one-on-one basis. So it doesn't feel like a hospital anymore. It's more about hospitality. It's more about being cared for. Yes, people are there to pay for it. So, but that is something important. Even if you would not want, to do it in that sort of range, what I would certainly advise you is, there are some amount of, some advices from the hospitality industry that we could actually imbibe into our hospital, into our hospitals and our hospital care. And that is the kind of thing, when we invest in that, I think, the returns are going to be, a long lasting. Thank you.
Yeah. Sir, excellent talk. Ganesh? Ganesh?
Sir, yes, sir, I'm there.
Yeah. So first, comment on Dr. Satish Ghanta's talk, number one. Number second, please introduce the authors, number one. Number second thing is we have to introduce the Shekhar and Mr. Srikanteshwar. So then we will take all the questions. Please.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Dr. Satish, it was a very comprehensive, view that you were given. Fundamentally, what I liked about what you said was it's very important for us to showcase what we do, because while we expect that people will know, what we do, especially, what you said about adding new specialties, adding new facilities, even showcasing some of the technologies that you use. It's generally assumed that every hospital has everything, but they may not really be using. Even in one of the some of the few previous meetings, meetings that we had in this series, a lot of discussions were happening on investment on technology, investment on the right kind of equipment, and so on and so forth. While a lot of people like you make an extraordinary effort to buy such high technology equipment, which absolutely save lives. In newborn care, it's a well established fact in the last decade or so that use of equipments, technology, makes a big difference in terms of preterm care, especially earlier preterm care. Babies who are born 27, 28 weeks need that extraordinary support in terms of technology, in terms of clinical expertise, in terms of specialist guidance. All of this, it's very important, that it has to be showcased and very nicely. The second thing which I really liked was the way that you said that it's very important to think through what we are showing up as branding. It has to be really thought through to communicate what you're trying to bring out as the value. I've myself been in some places where something else will be written, and people get completely distracted. It's not even relevant to what they do. So it's very important that when you make an effort to brand, you bring in a lot of consistency. Just one question, if I may, at this point of time or later ask you, Lord Dinkar, can I ask him now, or probably we can ask him later?
Yeah, please. You can ask later. We will introduce all the panelists. We will ask the panelists, our first moderator, then we'll ask the view of panelists, then we will take the questions. You can go ahead with your view.
Okay, no problem. In fact, just that we'll wait, as you rightly said, we'll wait for the panelists to discuss and then ask the question. So now I think it's time to introduce our panelists, and it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Uh,
Adarsh.
Yeah, it's my
Dr.
pleasure to
Adarsh.
introduce Mr. Adarsh Somasekar, Mr. Arun Kumar, Mr. Srikanteshwarar.
Yeah, I think so. Dr. Adarsh is there.
Shekhar.
Dr. Shekhar Subbaya is there.
Yeah,
And
Dr.
Srikanteshwara. 3 people are there. Ali is going to join later.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Because
So,
he got just he was there. Just now he left.
A warm welcome to Dr. Shekhar, Dr. Adarsh, and I see Dr. Mr. Srikanteshwar on the screen. Warm welcome to all of you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Srikanteshwar.
Yes, sir.
Can you just please, can you give your ideas?
Good evening to the entire fraternity, medical fraternity. Chaitanya gave a very good. Am I audible?
Yeah.
You're audible.
Yeah. Thank you. Chaitanya gave a very good introduction about digital marketing. I'd just like to add one more aspect to the same, which was not covered earlier. That's the metrics. Normally, advertising, if you do, it is very difficult to capture how many people, like you put a paper ad, you don't know how many people have gone through your paper ad. But unlike that, in digital marketing, you can capture how many people have liked your Facebook post, how many people have viewed your Facebook post and forwarded it, how many people have come to your website, from where they have come. Have they come from Google? Have they come from campaign? Or have they come directly by searching or putting your name into the website? So there are a lot of metrics that can be captured through digital marketing. And this metrics can be utilized to focus your marketing activity and direct it so that you can get better benefit out of the same. So this is one big advantage that you get with digital marketing, that your return on investment is much better because you can do a good targeted marketing out of digital marketing rather than like you put a paper ad, you hope that your target audience goes through it, but you really don't know whether they have really gone through it or not. But here it's one area where you can track your audience, you can follow up with them, you can do email marketing, you can do Facebook campaigning, and a lot of activities wherein you can be in touch with your audience and interact with them. So that is one additional point I thought I should add in terms of the digital marketing.
Yeah, Shekhar.
Yeah, I'm here in Dinakar.
Yeah, Shekhar, can you just put it your view on digital marketing? Number one, and three things. One is digital, another one is elevation, interiors, hospitality. So each one, just your views.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank Shrikanteshwar. He's our digital team head. I think he didn't get an introduction. So he's doing a very good job, and he's very patient enough. And I think we think very well regarding our needs, and he does the work very neatly. And I'm proud of him. Number two, regarding, I want to add one more thing regarding digital marketing is about SEOs. So we have to get our, the what do you call, the name of the hospital and the link to the top, so that they do as a background work. And if we don't do that, we get lost in the Google page. Okay, that's one more thing. If I'm correct, Shrikanteshwar. So
That's
yeah.
that's
And also your Google mapping, we found out that our main center mapping was wrong. Many of them used to, get lost with the direction. So some people will do it purposefully, to demarket your hospital. So it will be a different place also. So all these small things will happen. Reverse marketing will happen. And coming to your other question about elevation, Dinakar, you must have seen our Mysore elevation, how good it is. The elevation speaks a lot. There's a first attractive. It's like you going and looking for a girl. So she'll be very much dressed. So in the same way, elevation is also important. Okay. And you get cheated. Next is interiors. I agree with Dr. Satish. Okay, we don't need a lot of money to have a good interior. We need a lot of ideas, effort, patience, cross consultations, and bargaining capacity. So to get it done, I think I asked your architect about a question: how much will it cost per square, feet or something? You can get it done in 1,500, 1,600, 1,700, which is a very economic. People spend 3,500 rupees if it is a branded hospital, but we can get it done within 1,700, 1,800 rupees. So this is how you can save money and get a very good ambience and interiors done. And it is a learning process for everybody about interior branding. And in branding, we should also have ancillary service like a cafe. It makes they can spend time having a baby shop, having a baby shop there. And you can have a photo studio there. So these are all things which I think there's some noise.
Yeah. Can you just mute and unmute Shekhar?
Somebody's phone is ringing background. Okay, I think it's done.
Yeah,
So,
I think so.
yeah.
Phone is...
Yeah, so these services will actually give a kind of good ambience, facility, and also for them to spend some time. And it's a indirect income to the hospital also. You should not tell the owner that you are running from this, otherwise he'll catch you. Okay, he'll ask you more rent. So in this way, you can have more services to the hospital. I think Dr. Satish gave a good talk. I agree with him with most of that.
About this thing, hospitality.
In what way? Hospitality is very important. Though we can't provide water or juice to every patient. I was thinking when he was giving a talk, can I do that? It's impossible.
I think so. Ravindra Kumar Srivastav, your phone is ringing, sir. Ravindra Kumar Srivastav.
Actually, Shekhar Garu,
Yeah,
I asked that guys at birthplace how much is your 1 month juice expense?
I heard that.
I
Yeah.
was surprised. He said only 20,000 rupees.
Because the number of walk-ins you get every day, you have 200
No,
OPDs.
no, they have very few walk-ins. They are not.
Exactly.
There's a boutique delivery. I'm just saying an example. Now, how could you do it different or better?
So we are providing chocolates to the kids. Some parents say no, we should not give chocolates. So I agree with them.
Yeah.
Chocolates are, star, those kind of stuff. That's what we can do.
I'll tell you one more advice. Because chocolates, there are many people who will immediately they'll pounce on you.
Exactly.
What I've done is see these people who actually paint the
Yes.
Marvel stickers
Yes.
on the hands and stuff.
We do that. We do it.
During the busy OPD times, you can just have one of them.
Yeah.
That guy, he sits in one corner, and all the children's hands or the faces are painted with either Iron Man or Batman or Superman, whomever, whatever they like. So it doesn't cost much. One session for one day, it doesn't cost much, and it increases the value.
Now we have got a play area now.
Yes.
So they get engaged. So that makes parents very easy.
Very true. Very, very true.
So these things are required for a hospital, to enhance the beauty, services, satisfaction, etc., etc. I think Dinakar must be implementing all this. He will listen to us and implement. Smart guy.
Okay. So, Dr. Adarsh, what is your view here?
So I wanted to add excellent what they said. See, I'm trying to compare with another field. Okay, so see, let us take for example running. I'm just trying to give an outside example. And let us say you're a very good runner. You're running at 10 kilometers per hour or even 11 kilometers per hour. When you want to go to 12 kilometer or 13 kilometer per hour, it requires a lot of other drills. Probably a couple of swim sessions will come, gym sessions will come, squats will come, push-ups will come. It is like that. We think that we are a pediatrician, we want to be the best pediatrician, only focus on that. But there has to be other small which improve our overall performance. So it is very excellent actually.
Adarsh, I think so. We lost you.
Okay. So I was okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I was trying to say.
Maybe if everybody mutes except him, I think everybody can hear.
I was trying to say we could be a very good runner where we are running at a 10 kilometer per hour or something. If we have to further improve our skills to go to a 12 kilometer per hour or a 14 kilometer per hour, just practicing running may not be enough. We might have to put in a lot of work doing drills, gym, push ups, squats, which may be totally unrelated to running, but all that small points count to give you a better performance. Similarly, even as a pediatrician, even if you want to see more volumes, simply going on seeing just pediatrics might not be enough. You might have to create that right ambience. You might have to improve that nursing, the reception, how you're going to brand it, how much of things you give there when the patient is waiting. All that small things will count ultimately to become better in our fields. That is what I was about to add.
You have to unmute yourself, Dr. Dinakar Garu. You have to unmute.
Sorry. So Adarsh was telling about small things, everything we have to take. So that means elevation, everything you have to take what patient. So somebody. Okay, I think so. That is so that is the thing. Anything else, Adarsh, you want to just put for everybody's brain? Any tips from your side, dear?
So, from Chaitanya's talk, I wanted to know how many of the people who are listening have their own website. I can say that I have a website. I am trying to put up issues which are dear to me, especially in pediatrics. My key interest seems to be in fitness and nutrition in kids, which I put up. So it would be very good for them to write on. Then he also spoke about the videos where we could put up something which is relevant, again, which helps in people searching out for us. So again, that is something which I am trying to do. So again, the talk was very, very relevant. The pediatricians out there should think of making a website on their own, putting things which are dear and passionate to them in the entire field of pediatrics. So that also, after a period of time, will stand out for you. What you are particularly focused in the general pediatrics or neonatology. That is something which I want to add.
Yeah. So one, Dr. Satish, can we? You are ready, please.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Satish, you are telling us.
Yes.
So totally 7 points you have put, 7 slides you have put. It was excellent. Everything was excellent. So before the 7 slides, you are telling about the hospital and you are telling about the elevation and other things. So we know that elevation, he told it is very good, excellent. Do you think, is it same in the periphery too, or rural area too? Number 1. Number 2, and regarding the interiors, because in one talk, Dr. Adarsh was telling, can we try a Mercedes Benz in the village? So that is the reason I'm asking about the interiors.
Yes.
Number 3, because you are 3 topics, I'm asking you question: elevation, interiors, and regarding the hospitality. See, hospitality everybody needs in the hospital, no doubt, because hospitality means it is a hotel field, doctor field, everything is same too. Okay, water giving, yes, that is a mandatory. Nowadays, even clinics will put. So clinics will put the water. That is different, entirely different. What I am telling, hospitality more than a water, more than a juice, more than a stickering in the OPD. It's all a OPD basis. Okay, child play area. Yeah, it's all good. What this person told, our Shaker has told. Hospitality in a mean, if it is an inpatient in the hospital, either gyno or a multi-specialty hospital, what I understand is a care, either going to a toilet. Suppose the wife is there, wife is 60 years, 70 years person is there, son has gone outside, hospitality, we need a person to take care. Suppose if we will employ one Aya, it will be difficult. So is that hospitality you are talking will have a this thing? What is meaning of hospitality in the hospital? We want like a pencil broken. Correct word. It is a broad terminology. We can talk for 1 hour to 7 days to 1 month. What do you mean by that in the hospitality?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll answer the last question first. So hospitality, 2 things you said. Is it the same in the city and the rural areas? Number 1, and one in the outpatients as well as the inpatient area. So first, I think, see, hospitality doesn't cost you. There is no cost. That means it's fixed. There is no extra cost added to hospitality. See, hospitality is all about how the security is behaving with the patients who are coming inside, number 1. Is all about how the front office people are saying a namaste and welcoming them inside with a smile. That is hospitality. Then next thing is, let us say they're going to sit in the OPD area. They are being engaged, like whatever ideas we've said. And once we come to the clinic, it's always a nice idea to open the door or to close the door for them. See, that is hospitality. There is no added money involved in that. There is only added niceness. Only added niceness. Number 1. Let us say you are going into the inpatient area. Hospitality is all there. I can't be there all the time. The doctor can't be there. It is about the housekeeping people. It is about the nurses, and it is about the floor managers. 3 people. These are the 3 people who need to exercise the hospitality. That's it. And as I said, there is no extra cost involved to this hospitality. Yes, the housekeeping people should keep it clean, and the manager or the floor manager should, every couple of hours, they need to go to the room and find out, are they Are they sort of being taken care of well? Is there anything that is needed? That is extremely important. You just can't help it. You just can't help it. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So there's absolutely no extra cost involved there. Let us say the nurse has to be taught these etiquettes. That is extremely important. Again and again, I'm emphasizing that you need to have maybe yourself or a good manager or a good GM operations take regular classes for the housekeeping people, regular classes for the nurses, and at the same time the floor managers, all about how to behave with these patients, how to make them feel happy, and how to satisfy them. And at the end, if you go with a tablet saying, just like how Chaitanya said, you need to have good reviews about yourself, right? On the day
Yeah.
of discharge, the best thing is, having a tablet in front of them and, asking them to fill them out. Unless you provide all these services well, it doesn't happen. So that is the first and foremost thing about the hospitality. About the other two questions about elevation and interiors,
Yes, sir.
if you ask your let us say the architect or the designer or the engineer, he will tell you elevations from 500 rupees per square foot to even 5,000 rupees per square foot. You agree with me, Shekhar Garu, and all the rest in the panel?
Sir,
With
that
huge
depends.
margin.
Owner, we can give the plan to the owner and he'll bear the cost, sir.
Yes. So the best thing is, this thing is, if your pockets are limited, you could always give the budget to the architect and the brand planner saying, listen, this is my budget, but I want it in this area. So, and this branding, trust me, gone are the days when even in the tier two towns, yes, they look for a good ambience, they look for a good presentation. There's no doubt about that. So you could always spend less money on the sort of the elevation and this thing. Again, as I said, you need not be extravagantly spending on that. It is all about the class. It's all about what is your brand speak of yourself. So that is the thing. But you need to have a good ambience. There is no two ways about it. At the same time, how do you, rather than spending a lot of money, how do you use it with your, with your accolades or your achievements and things like that? So I think it is very, very important that your elevation and your interiors need to have an element of uniqueness or, preciseness to that. At the same time, your hospitality as well.
Yes, sir.
So just
Sir,
to add
anything?
on, Dr. Satish, just to add
Yes.
on, you said about training for all the staff. This happens in every hospital as a part of hospitality, but they keep changing.
Yes.
This is one
You
problem.
can't help it. Very, very true. I completely agree with you, Shekhar Garu. They keep the attrition rate is very high,
Right.
especially if Shekhar's trained the the nurses and the let us say the front office people and this thing. Immediately there's another person who's going to offer him 2,000 and then poach those people. That is
Dinakar will offer more and you'll take from my house.
yes, that is absolutely there. You can't help it. I think that is that attrition and the thing you have to live with it.
Yeah.
And so that is the reason why you need to make the training a constant process.
There should be a
So
training.
yes,
soft skills.
instant. Every new set of people are being trained on the same way. That it has to be your ethic. It has to be your work culture. Yeah.
So others, you want to tell anything? Others, you have to unmute.
Hello. Can I say something?
Others, you have to unmute.
Yes, please.
Ganesh, you want to tell anything? I think so. Somebody should unmute. Okay,
Yes,
Ganesh, you want to add on anything regarding this?
A couple of questions, sir. Of course.
Yeah, questions. And because you are more than 35 years, you are there in this field. You have seen, before I finished my MBBS, you are doing the business. You might have seen the many doctors and hospitality, interiors, periphery, everything. What is your impression?
I would rather want to comment more like a consumer. I know that's the reason I would like to ask a question. Of course, as much as we discussed and we clearly understand, there is a level of marketing, branding, all of this is important. In healthcare, the biggest brand is the care and the care provider. So, which is known. It is just that it's important that now in the changing circumstances with the younger people coming, and especially for maternity and newborn care, it is mostly the younger people. We have to make an effort to connect to them. It's important to connect to the contemporary world and connect to what they feel is contextual. So my one question is, sir, given the current pandemic, uh, I'm asking as a consumer, while many of this, I'm sure many doctors and senior professionals like you did not ever want to focus as much as you are having to, in the past. Is it not the right time, sir? As much as we talk about, patients coming, waiting, families coming and waiting, and then, trying to take care of everyone, not just the patient, but the patient's families, patient's children, and everyone, and, giving hospitality, support, everything to them. Is it not something that the fact that the current pandemic is not encouraging any of that, which means that efficiency build-up is one of the key things. Two very important things I see in healthcare. One in Metro Tier 1, where there is already an healthcare infrastructure. This is time to build efficiency, which means that what we need not have had to do, Corona has now given us a chance to step back and build more efficiency. Any place, anywhere, people overwhelmed, the patients overwhelmed, coming in time was never the question. The appointments get delayed, cancelled. Almost everywhere people are, completely, overwhelming the system. And I know how it will feel like for a doctor like you inside the cabin when there is 100 people waiting outside, and with everyone wanting to be seen first, even if they don't come in time. We had to deal with all of that in the past, but now in the new normal, as a part of building up efficiency, what is your advice to minimize many things that we did in the past and more focus on people coming in time, coming within the visiting hours, coming prepared? Many times people don't even come prepared, coming prepared with reports, coming prepared with some checkups. Why can't we use this as a new way to build efficiency, to decongest the system, rather than really focusing on doing what we had to do in the past, because somebody did, and many had to follow. Of course, there are few things which are very core. I totally agree in terms of communicating what we are doing for people to understand. That much absolutely is needed. But is it not the time, sir, to rethink the whole thing and to think about how to build efficiency, how to build safe care, safe access, minimize people in the hospital area, and more focus our conventional values of healthcare, which is providing better healthcare?
Yeah, absolutely, Ganesh Garu. I think that's a very, very valid question. And gone are the days where we had hundreds and fifties and people waiting for us, right? The OPDs are all, at least if not this thing, at least 40-50% or 60% of their OPD, these things. I mean, all over the country. It's not all over the country, all over the world. I've had a couple of my classmates in the US, in Australia. What they say is 50 to 70% of their regular outpatient practice is all gone. I think everybody agrees with me, right? Yes, in the intensive care, it's a different story. Yes, births keep happening. That's a different thing. Outpatients is a completely different story. So the first thing is how we need to address, yes, is in fact, many of them are preferring virtual consultations. I think that is extremely important. We need to get onto the digital platform and we need to engage ourselves in virtual consultations. I think everybody is doing that right now. And if the child is obviously, it can't be managed, obviously you advise them to sort of come in to the hospital. Now, one thing what I have done in the last 6 months, I would like to share with you. So we are actually building a machine learning tool, an AI tool where we want to integrate, let us say, a woman with pregnancy-induced hypertension. The lady comes in, has hypertension, has other complaints. At the same time, this lady has a set of bloods done. And at the same time, this lady also has an ultrasound done. So you have the physical examination of the doctor. You have on the second hand, you have the investigations coming in about this pregnancy-induced hypertension case. At the same time, you have the ultrasound report with the baby. So what happens is, yes, looking at the ultrasound, this child is small, it's an SGA baby, and all those things, that. And again, with the blood tests also, you're aware. At the same time, what we have seen. So what happens is, if we build a machine learning tool where we integrate our clinical examination findings and the hypertension into the system, into our software, into our hospital software, HIS software. Along with that, you add the investigations to that. At the same time, you add along with that, you even add the ultrasound also, or the ultrasound of the child to that. So you have all these three tools where these are the tools which are going to give us more information. So, that is in an obstetric scenario. Same with the pediatric scenario. If you can add machine learning or AI into the whole thing, I think down the line it is going to be beneficial, because one thing is for sure, the world is not going to be the same again. It is going to be, instead of BC and AD, before Christ and Anna Domini, I think now it is going to be before Corona and after Corona. It's going to be different. So now AC, or instead of AD, it is AC after Corona. What is it that you are going to do different? You need to rethink of the way it is going to be done. You need to add, your, digital platform. You need to add your virtual communication. You need to add AI and machine learning into this. That is something we are building. Hopefully, we've already started implementing it in our hospital. Hopefully, in the next 2 months, we can roll it out to other facilities as well. So that is very, very important. So I think, God has given us an opportunity to sit back, reflect, and reinvent, rethink. See, I always would see this is a prakriti vaiparithyam anta heltaralva. Andre, this is something which is bad, which has happened to the community. I think you need to take that an opportunity out of that. Even in calamities, you get opportunities, right? So in that way, you need to rethink and then rewire yourself. I think that's the answer to your question.
Absolutely, sir. That's why I thought it was relevant to bring this up, because as we are discussing, especially for a lot of new people who are wanting to build setups, and even for those as you who already have established setups, this is very important to reflect back and see how much we can optimize, than just continue, because Corona may go away. Hopefully, it goes away, but we should use this opportunity to correct many of those things which we didn't like. Obviously, if I didn't like as a patient, you would not have liked as a care provider. So now, can we do away with many of that? Can we bring in streamlining mechanism? Can we educate people about the value of, in whatever times, I remember, I don't want to take the name of a hospital. I was sitting in the waiting room. There were a lot of hoardings about influenza. We also know Corona is one such. But, around me, people are coughing and, and I was like feeling, if I didn't read what I saw in the, interior, in the walls, I would not have got so scared. But having read so many and people coughing next to me gave me even more fear. So that's where I really feel that, do we really need to do all of those, overdo all of those, and also look at the real estate cost. Why do we need so much waiting space, especially in metros? Do we really need so much waiting space for people to come and wait with families and friends? It's not a place where people get together. It's not a marriage or it's not a birthday party. It's healthcare. So no, I think it's one thing, Dinkar sir, if it's good, if you all of you find enough, if you find this very important, you should bring some session on this and have experts like Dr. Shekhar, Dr. Satish, and as Dr. Satish said, something which he has done very nicely. If all of this can be discussed for the benefit of others, it will be very good.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
Ganesh.
1 second. Dr. Satish, what all AI measures have taken? We have done chatting. Anything else can we do now at this scenario?
Yeah. See, what you could do is, let us say, as Ganesh pointed out, what is the need for them to come with their reports to you? I think the next time they come, the patient doesn't need to come to the hospital with their reports. If you
Yes.
can integrate your physical examination and all your findings and your prescription with the hospital lab facility. So there's something called IoT, isn't it? You need to integrate
Yes. I've
that
done
with,
that. I'll
yes,
get the email. Yeah.
exactly. So what happens is, so they'll know what their reports are, and you do a virtual consultation and then advise them what needs to be done. So
Yes.
you're trying not that they should not come into the hospital.
Yeah.
Then
So
next
what we
when you
have
go into the
initially we had this resistance from the patient, especially this West Bangalore, the very traditional.
now choice illa ರೀ choice
So,
ಇಲ್ಲ.
so we made very
ಮಾಡ್ಲೇಬೇಕು.
ಮಾಡಾಯ್ತು. Email ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ and then they correspond with us through email. So no paper, all paperless. Even investigation paperless. Pharmacy is paperless.
Email, or if somebody is not interested in typing, they could always do a virtual consultation, right?
Even pharmacy is also paperless. Like we online prescription, it goes there and they dispense the medication.
Yes.
And they take a printout. Anything else we can do still, Dr. Satish?
What else you could do? There are a lot of things you could do. And in the intensive care unit, you could integrate the monitors into your dashboard.
Yeah, that we have done. Yeah.
Yes.
Central monitoring.
Then, yeah, exactly. And then, you could, as sitting, Shekhar Gar, you can't be in the hospital all the time. So let us say you have to see, but you have to know what's happening with each of the patient. That is there again on your dashboard. As a managing director, that's a different dashboard you have. And as a doctor, you'll have a different thing. So you'll exactly know what's happening. That is very, very important. So you need
I'll ask one question. Satish, it's a very good. Excellent. Shekhar was asking very good question. I'll ask Adarsh, are you here?
Hello,
Adarsh,
I'm there.
Adarsh, we lost you. I asked you two questions. We lost you. Adarsh and Shekhar and Satish, please, everybody, one by one, please. Everybody is telling, sir, census, sir, data, everything is telling. Word of mouth is very important. Word of mouth is very important. Yes, excellent. We do accept it. But one thing, word of mouth will take minimum a year. Minimum a year. Till that time, how to catch the patients? We are not so charmy like Shekhar. Others first for you. Or do you think we should wait? Or because do you think digital marketing act Chaitanya told that is one way, and previously branding, marketing, paper, everything Dr. Dinesh Charla and previous Isha was telling. Other than that, word of mouth, word of mouth. Yes, even Satish was telling many times word of mouth. But till 2 years, any hospital to develop, how to do? First for others, dear.
Yeah.
So we have discussed that your good practice itself will market you to one extent. Second, your word of mouth will give you another extra point. But there itself we cannot be happy. Third, we are going to do that interiors in a way it speaks. Our staff, our reception, the way we design things, again will give you another one extra point. Fourth, we start up with the digital marketing. We try to put in some videos, we try to write in some blogs, we try to put something on the Facebook live. So again, so why are you thinking it is one way, man? There has to be many, many, many small things to make it happen. It can never be one way. That's my take.
Okay.
Shekhar?
So I'll just share my experience with my new Mysore project. Okay, it's a 16 lakhs population of Mysore city and surrounding districts of around 5 districts. So what we did is we started OPD in the beginning, just opening the ground floor, having a good ambience, and OPD slowly started trickling in, maybe 1 or 2 or 3, 4, 5. Then we started minimal digital marketing about, we started OPD, XYZ. So that was only for the basic nearby people. And we had handouts, paper handouts in a very nice glossy paper for the nearby community so that the OPD will start. And now, after starting the hospital, we went into digital marketing, which is one part. We went into flex, about 30 flex for the 5 districts, so that it will be covered for the entire 5 districts. FM radio, that's actually it's very good for the Mysore city. It's a very economical, and these and also we've sent the emails and all the what do you call the invitations and the branding material to all the groups. It can be a caste group, it can be other doctors group, it can be engineers group, it can be a club. So in that way we have to penetrate the market in different ways. So flex FM, it's just a superficial. The digital marketing, it may hit some people. And again, calling the doctors from Bangalore, from the surrounding district for the puja, because of the COVID, we did for 2 days. We invited the doctors in different timings and took them for a tour, make them understand about everything. So that's one way of marketing. So there are different ways of marketing. Now we have reached 20 OPDs per day. Already 5 deliveries happened in Mysore in last 7 days. So in that way, it will go on. It will take 6 months to 1 year.
Yeah, I think beautifully summarized by both Dr. Adarsh and Dr. Shekhar Garu. But at the end of the day, patience is a virtue.
Exactly.
You just have to be patient and wait. If it's a new thing, obviously, if it's a new person or a new doctor or a new facility. But if it is, old doctors setting up new facilities, the old doctor could actually use their expertise and their outcomes and their sort of accolades into the internal branding of the new facility as well. So that,
sorry, yeah, please go ahead, Dr. Satish.
yeah. So you could add on to the collective experience of all the new consultants who are there. So that also adds to that as well.
What I also did is when we started OPD, we start all the pediatric subspecialties.
Yes.
So, and they won't have their own place of practice. So I got them into our hospital. They started their OPD. Maybe one patient, two patients, but those patients will bring more patients. And everybody feels that everything is under one roof. And that way, slowly, we got all the subspecialties together now. Every subspecialty is there already. Even if we get one patient per day for them, it's worth for us. And it will build up gradually. It may take maybe like 3-4 months. Yeah, it will build up.
Very true.
Chaitanya. Hello. I think so. He's there. We lost him. Probably he might have muted. Okay.
And two more things, two more ways of advertising is newspaper. We did, the local newspaper. We did give a good advertisement. We had a press conference. We invited all the newspapers, TV channels of Mysore, and we told it is what kind of hospital. It's a doctors-driven hospital, and the prices are not expensive. They want that. Will you do charity? Is your prices are affordable? So we have to emphasize on that and tell them very clearly and make them, announce it in the newspaper that it's a doctors-driven hospital. The prices are not expensive. In that way, the patients will get some message and they'll come back to us. So there are multiple ways of marketing, I would say.
Sir, you are muted.
You have to unmute yourself, Dr. Dinakar.
Sri Kanteshwar, you want to answer? You want to ask or answer anything?
As Dr. Shekhar and the entire panelist has mentioned, marketing can be done both subtly and it can also be done using various media. Definitely, it is not just boosting your image, but it is more of you have to have the base, number one. Number two, once the base is ready, you have to project to the masses what you have, because you may have everything with you, unless it is projected to the people that you have all these things, then there is no point of having these things inside. So how you project these things through various medias becomes very important. And today, where the customer attention is very less, because distraction is too much, there are a lot of opportunities for a person to get distracted, like Netflix or many other things. So how you are able to get his attention to your information becomes very critical, and that is where I think people should work upon.
Yeah, Chaitanya, are you here? Yeah, Ganesh, over to you.
This is the question that I had. So two things. One is obviously on building efficiency, and to Dr. Shekhar, obviously I can talk to you separately on the lot of tools which have come in terms of AI, which clearly works on predictions, and which is very important now in a time like this. Prediction is very important, and maternal newborn care area, this FDA approved AI software engine which takes information about the patients, and of course compares with the curated data and throws up the maternal incidence of diabetes, hypertension, eclampsia, or even preterm, the time of birth, and what if you do, this can change, and you can monitor progress and also make sure that the newborn care is geared up when there's a preterm, the timing, the conditions, and so on and so forth. Of course, I don't want to talk about it now because this is not the forum. I will call you separately and I will
Yeah,
explain
Ganesh, if you
those
can come
solutions.
on Tuesday, we have a mortality meeting. There'll be a lot of obstetrician. Just
Yeah, yeah,
Tuesday
yeah.
afternoon, 2:30.
Yeah, we'll share with you. But the most important thing is on as much as we speak about building efficiency in metro and tier one, in tier two, tier three, the scenario is a little bit different, sir. All of you know this very well. In metro, it's more like walk-ins and so on and so forth. But in tier two, tier three, still the ecosystem is very strong, which is maternity homes are separate, NICUs are separate. It's not very easy to overnight integrate maternity homes inside the newborn care, and specifically for newborn care and level 4, higher levels of newborn care, for it to and pediatric care, of course, to be strong. There's always a lot of hub and spoke activities, which means that the obstetrician, obstetrician becomes your customer who routes patients to you. So now, what kind of support that can be given to them in these geographies where they like to stay unique? They don't want to come and become part of even patients are like that. Many big hospitals, when they went to tier 2, tier 3 markets, when they started tier 2, tier 3 setups, they had big difficulty because patients were more happy to go to those maternity homes and not to those big corporate hospitals, especially in newborn care and maternal care. People like to go to their own obstetrician, their own old setup where their sister was delivered or friends were delivered, and so on and so forth. They can't suddenly move to a corporatized culture. So it's very important to get those maternity homes, obstetricians aware about a lot of technologies as what you bring, and also about what you are going to do, to help them also, develop their practice. That's something which has to happen. Especially Dr. Dinkar starting in Kolar is not the same as Dr. Dinkar starting in Whitefield. This both are two different places.
He
So
has
now,
a
what's
place
your
value.
views? Yeah. So, what is it that you would advise that we have to do
Yeah,
differently? Yeah. Yes, sir.
Ga- Ganesh, audience, Naresh Prasad, or any audience, anything you want to please ask the
Yes, Dinkar, I have lots to say.
Madam, Asha Madam, please. Madam,
See, what does the word hospital mean?
hospital mean. Satish,
Yes, home
hospital.
of sick. It means home of sick people, inpatient, treatment, ambulatory, and lying.
Yes,
Okay, from
madam,
a
hospital.
hospital, you have moved on into an hospitality industry. Fine. The best form of marketing is word of mouth. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Word of mouth. A satisfied client is the best ambassador for you. All of you who are planning to build a hospital, please provide adequate provision for car parking. I mean, Kishore may be in the group. Cloudnine, I had to go and see a patient. I went 3 circles to go and see a patient because I did not get car parking. As a doctor, I was so frustrated. Imagine a patient coming with a sick baby. And then your security guard is the most important person. Please, he's your god-like. The moment he is rude to the patient, he makes that patient very angry, and you will face the repercussions. And the placement of your hospital. presently I'm working with the Sagar concerns. You know, you must, if you're planning a corporate hospital, it should be planned in a high income area. One of their hospitals is in Kumaraswamy layout. It is a low income area. There we are still struggling, and the kind of patient clientele there, they cannot afford a corporate hospital. Then you must, somebody was talking about butterflies being painted near the intensive care unit. As an head of a 500 bedded government institution, I struggled a lot because at the entrance you must paint about the law on attack of if they attack doctors and destruction of property. So you make them aware at sensitive areas that such laws are there, and they will be arrested. And then what is that? You should advertise. Okay, I forgot what is that. Then institution and an organization. You know, as an individual, what do you want? As a professional, what do you want? And as an organization, I'm little worried about advertisement. Like I know Dinkar is my good friend. He works in Vaidehi Institute. And then now if he wants to advertise about his upcoming hospital, he is bound by the rules and regulation of that organization. Shaker is totally out of government, not working in any organization. So he can go all out. If you're going to put up billboards, you know, you can put up billboards saying Kangaroo Mother Care Hospital, but not as an individual. Because by law, as the medical council, now it is the National Medical Council, by law, an individual doctor cannot advertise. I had a very miserable experience with Practo. You know, there are some networks called Just Dial and Birthing Networks. They were giving appointments to patients for lactation management to me. I have not registered. I have not paid their annual fee of 3,000 or 6,000 rupees. Nothing I have done. And these patients were sent to my clinic on a day when I had to go and inaugurate something. And those patients have put up a nasty remark in Google. And that remark has been taken up by Practo. And when I applied for an international job, and they pointed out this Practo has done this. There's a negative remark, so we can't take up your application. I'm feeling very bad about the youngsters here. I'm not bothered at all. But subsequently, when I asked Practo, from where did you get this? He said from a blog in the Google. You know, they're all nasty people. Practo has a group of doctors who try to bring you bad names. So the director of the Practo, I know him. And when I spoke to him, they did apologize, but they have done the mistake. That is the reason why I asked, when there's a bad remark, how do you take it off from this, you know, Google or wherever, Facebook or something like that. So be aware of all these things. And another thing, Shekhar, you said you got all your super specialists and doctors from various places. The stealing of patients from your organization by doctors is pretty rampant. Be very careful.
Madam,
They should not
give
establish.
explanation to that. We are just taking them as a 1 hour consultation. You know, we don't take them as full time because we don't require them. What we need is all the facilities under one roof. Patient doesn't want to move out from the hospital for each consultation. So we make it very clear, either they should come full time or they should come only 1 hour, but they should not get their patients.
See, that was the ambition of my father, to have comprehensive child health care under one roof. Okay, all specialists are available there. But what is happening is, when you get the specialists, for the follow-up, they will say, I'm not available on Tuesday. So you come to my clinic. I'm coming here only on a Friday. So next, I need to see your reports, and that report I'll have to see it on a Monday or a Tuesday. So you come to my clinic. So be careful about that kind of patient shifting and, you know, being disloyal to the organization. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
No, madam, it is very excellent, very nice. What you told is really good, because the consultants do come and they might, it's all happening because we are all colleagues ultimately. You have seen in anything, small petty things, they are fighting for 10 rupees. I don't want to tell in this 10 rupees, our own doctors who are in millions, but they are fighting for 10 rupees. Now, he has taken my case or anything. Leave it. It's all the other things. But very good input. Thank you, madam. And one more thing. Anybody wants to ask anything, their doubt? Naresh Prasad or anybody? Any audience? Please, they can unmute.
something, sir. Can I speak?
Haji,
Hello.
please.
Hello. Can I speak, sir?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Now you are audible.
Am I audible?
Now, yes, sir. Now you are audible. You don't switch on, switch off. You are
Am I
switching on, switching off. Yes, yes. You are audible. You are audible. You are audible.
Am I audible?
Sir, who, sir? Sairam, Sairam, Sairam.
Hello.
हाँ सर आप हाँ सर
Hello.
सर
Hello.
आप ऑडिबल
You're
है
audible. You're audible. Please speak, sir. Please speak. You're audible.
sir don't switch off and switch on, don't switch off and switch on, the don't unmute and mute, please. You are audible, sir. You are audible, sir. Bah.
Hello.
Yes, sir. You are audible. Okay, please. Anybody can ask any question. सर आप ऑडिबल है सर. नरेश प्रसाद जी आप ऑडिबल है. Anybody?
May I?
Yes, sir. Please.
I'm Dr. Ravi Khanna from Bareilly.
Yes, sir.
The biggest problem is you put up a good hospital, we put up all the good services, we give our best efforts. Then come the bad, the evil of commissionship, that is sharing the revenues. Many times the referral doctors they fall to this aspect only. Kitna doge, kitna milega, how much would you give us? There's a worst part of the practices. So any suggestions? People must have overcome this problem also. We are struggling. We have got a good setup, putting a lot of money also. I got INO, I got nitric oxide, INO, HFO, you name the thing, ultrasonography, everything. But we are struggling with the commissionship. Are not able to fathom it. Chal raha hai, theek hai, we are doing the things because it's a long name. We are doing the practices 30 years. But the biggest problem we are facing is, with all your good efforts, this commissionship is coming in. Is there any suggestions regarding that? Practical suggestions. Dr. Ghanta?
सर आपके लिए सतीश 1 minute. Satish 1 minute. Ravi Khanna, Dr. Ji, your question is very genuine. Before starting the hospital itself, when we had a meeting, I think so, Dr. Shekhar will be knowing this. Even our own gynecologist, quality care near your home is the motto. So with that, when we met the gynecologist surroundings, I don't want to mention anybody's name. So what they told is very clear. Sir, if iris clinic, iris patient is there, gynecology patient, I mean OBG patient is there, we want to take, we will take to some X hospital with a 40 kilometers distance. When we take the patient, when we do the surgery, ourselves we will do the surgery very happily, they were telling. Sir, they will pay immediately 30,000. And with the cuts also for that baby, preterm baby, they will give immediately. Tu dogi kya? अरे पेशेंट्स आर डाइंग सर, मेरे को क्या लेने देने की है? So called noble profession, I don't want to blame anybody here. And मैं आपका बोल रहा है ना सब, आपका पास सभी है, मैं कट्स दे रहा हूं सर. पूरा जिंदगी में इंडिया में करप्शन है ना, वो जड़ में है. हमारा डॉक्टर सभी बोलता है नोबल प्रोफेशन, सच्ची नोबल प्रोफेशन है, सच्ची नोबल प्रोफेशन है. बट फिर भी you know, there is something called the best religion, but they are not the best followers of that religion. Like that, X, don't want to mention anything. But the thing is, we are the best service providing people. But when it comes to the cuts, kitna dogi, kya dogi, how much? Now over to Satish.
I think, I mean, I can't comment on this because as long as the humans are alive, this kind of corruption is going to be there. I don't think it's in our mindset. I don't think we should blame anybody. That's how the human nature is. That's how everybody is. Everybody, even in our profession, it is such a shame, but that's the honest truth. That's the honest truth. It's not about how good you are. It's not about what kind of facilities you are. That person is giving, why not you? That greed. I don't think, and I don't think that is going to change also. I don't think that is going to change also. Unless
Shekhar,
you are
anything
the
you want
only
to add?
person in Bareilly and nobody else is there. Let us say you're the only person and nobody else offers nitric acid, no one else offers this thing. Then you have the luxury to say, get lost, I'm not going to give you 1 rupee. The next nearest place is only New Delhi. If that is the case, then you can say. But if you are not alone, if you have a competitor, that is how they entice you, and I think that's an evil which we have to learn.
Dr. Satish, one more thing. When we are telling, we are ready to give them if they don't have money free of cost or lesser than the BPL card holders, and whatever your charges is there, you can take and go. Anything. No. मेरे को उतना मिलता है उधर, मेरे को क्या लेनी देनी के है, मैं इधर बैठ कर कमाता हूँ, तू देता है क्या? So sir, there is no integrity and respect for the patient. So it is becoming very, feeling very disheartened. And one more thing is, it's waste to start in the rural. We are thinking our birthplace, and we are thinking my village. Here one very good speaker is sitting, my village, I want to start. But when he will start, he will understand my village. Already I am facing it very much. My village, same money I have to pay for the ultrasound, same money I have to pay for the CT scan, same money I have to pay for everywhere. But the thing is, sir, charging less, but cuts business ko hai. Okay, over to what is it? Naresh Prasad sir, आप बात कर सकते हैं जी.
Am I audible, sir?
Sir, audible, sir. Okay, Dr. Shekhar, you want to add anything? Sir, you are audible. Don't switch on, switch off. You are audible.
Okay. Regarding the hospitality, my medical representative gave me a box of toffee or chocolate like that, and I started distributing to the patient. And it was for a great surprise to me. By giving a one toffee or chocolate to the child or the patient cooperation built up very nicely, and the parents and the attendants were also quite happy. In the present era, whatever we are doing with the patient, we are treating the patient, but we should also take an example about the emotion of the child and emotion of the parents as well. By just giving a toffee or even a toy, small toy, or even something like some printed paper also, that gives a lot of return. And for the remarkable cooperation and the patient cooperation, now I'm keeping a lot of toffee and that, and it is distributed among the patient and among the child, and this way I'm building up. I went to Bombay and visited a clinic of a very good doctor and a very big doctor at Bombay, and I found various toys were there in the reception. And from that onwards, we are also getting rocking toys like rocking duck, rocking horse, or rocking a boat. And the children which are coming having time with them, they are also playing with these toys and devoting some time to this. And someone is very happy if the children are happy there, and if someone is waiting there, they are also enjoying that time. Second thing, you should keep a pre-filled prescription. Pre-filled prescription means your prescription letter pad, you write everything. Write the name of the child, age of the child, sex of the child, parents' name, address, everything. Then the breast pad, bottle pad, or immunized, non-immunized. Then to the our secretaries or patient attendants, our hospital staff, and then they can fill up the prescription with a very short history as well. And then we devote our major or maximum time while attending the taking the relevant history and also doing the valuable examination with the patient. Just to extract कितना number हुआ है vomiting का, loose motion का, it takes minimum 4 or 5 minutes. They will not tell the exact number, but repeatedly asking, they will tell you that if it is more than 8 or 10, we will think of planning the addition or the IV fluid. But to take this type of history, it is very difficult for us to take this history, and lot of time is wasted. Second thing, the staff should be well trained when they are making the prescription. Yes, oxygen situation, the temperature is very high. They should be well enough to take the temperature, the blood pressure, or pulse oximetry. By that way, they can also give you some hint what type of prescription we are dealing with. We have to, we should not be at all emotional and try to behave as a family member to the patient or patient attendant. We should treat our profession as a profession, not as an emotional person or be trying to become a family member. Once you become a very emotional person and divert yourself to the emotion and sentiment, sir, आप कुछ कर दीजिए ना sir. And don't try to compromise with the treatment of the patient, and you can compromise with the cost of the patient, but don't compromise with the treatment. Those who have treated the patient emotionally, they have been very badly rewarded. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your valuable suggestions. Don't treat the patient emotionally, treat it medically. Emotional will kill the doctor as well as your hospital, but treat it medically, whatever the ethically. Thank you very much, sir. So, Ganesh, I think so. This is the time to conclude.
Yeah, thanks. I think very nice session. A lot of experience and a lot of real discussion points on how we can market, how to limit marketing. While marketing is no longer a bad word, it's important that we understand what we do with this. Marketing is mostly, almost always should be done to enhance the value of what services we provide, and not about what we don't. Of course, there was a very long session by Chaitanya. Of course, we wanted to have some questions. It's important that especially doctors who are in the tier 2, tier 3 setups, or even smaller setups, where they don't have a digital marketing team or an agency supporting them. It's very important, that they understand how to deal with this. Creating a website is easy. Putting content is, not very easy. But most important reason why we put all of that is to understand, the kind of people who come and visit and put feedback and so on and so forth. So the content is the most important thing. It's not about the site. It's not about what we do. The content that is there, the authenticity of the content, and the refresh that you do. It's not something. It's not like a one time you create something and you leave it. You have to constantly keep refreshing, keep understanding the triggers, bring in a lot of educational value. And in times as this, it's even more important that healthcare awareness has to be created. All of this is really going to make the digital marketing efforts valuable. And a lot of seminars, Facebook chats or Google chats, and YouTube chats. All of that is going to certainly make awareness, bring in a lot of awareness. And very clearly, as much as we discuss, it's important to understand what we create and the users. We understand that while we create a website, it's important that you create a few hygiene factors you have to take for doing anything that you do. Like most people browse through the smartphones. So now you have to make sure that when you create a website, it's good enough to be seen on your smartphone as nicely as well, and not just in a laptop or a computer. So, and the content you put there, the amount of effort you take in terms of highlighting and showcasing a few things, and constantly somebody looking at it very carefully and very closely, and not look at it as a one-time effort. Digital marketing or marketing itself is not a one-time effort. So now it's creating website and just leaving it as it is, and of course allowing hackers to come. I mean, what Shekhar was saying, hackers can come and do anything and go away, and all that is going to make things more difficult. So as much as we focus on digital marketing, it's important that we clearly understand what are the do's and don'ts, what's hygiene, and how much you can manage and how much you can't, and then deal with that. That's the most important. And coming back to Dr. Satish's talk, very clearly it's important to highlight, showcase what you can expect as a service, and also about what we have made investments in technology to make sure that these services are, not many people do understand as patients. They won't even understand. They won't even understand that if you don't provide a base level of technology, it's impossible to bring outcomes, especially in newborn care, in preterm births. Some base level of technology has to be used. Good technology has to be used. The good trained manpower has to be there. Of course, it was a very nice comment from a doctor on hospitality. And hospitality, in a single word, is nothing. It's about good treatment. You have to treat those coming to your place as much as you would like to get be treated when you go somewhere else. So all these are very valuable, very important, a lot of very nice discussions, and this makes this program even more valuable for the many who have already set up practice and who are going to set up practice.
Yeah. So thank you, Ganesh. Thank you, Satish. Thank you, Chaitanya. Thank you, Adarsh. Thank you, Shaker. Okay. Adarsh, last word from you regarding these two topics. Last word before we close.
No, it was a very, very good topic. First of all, good to have chosen some, it's not a common topic which is taught to us in any medical school. Nobody taught us branding. Nobody taught us how to become better doctors. I'm sure in MBAs they must be teaching the other people. So it was a very, very insightful topic. First of all, very good on choosing, and the speakers have been excellent on it. I thank both.
Thank you very much.
So
thank you, sir. Thank you very much, all the speakers and moderating person, Mr. Ganesh. Thank you very much. So because of Ganesh and because of his continuous persistent help in designing the brochure and consistent bringing the speakers and arranging everything and giving the machines for the previous all the talks and even for foreign speakers. Thank you very much, Ganesh. And more than anything else, all the speakers and panelists, because without you, this program would have been not success. So we are, I think so, we are having only around 14 sessions or 12 sessions. There is lot, another 2 sessions are there regarding the general whole hospital. Next 11 sessions will be which equipment to buy, why to buy that equipment. Means we are not individualizing one company, but suppose if you want to buy the warmer, what all the parameters you are looking? Incubator, what all the parameters you have to look? Then why the incubators will cost? Well, like that. All the NICU equipments and all hospital equipments, we have 11 sessions. Big guns are going to come. Good panelists are going to come. Please, dear friends, you should be there with us. We will help you in knowing all the things. Actually, I am telling you, as others told, it's all, I am also learning. Everybody is learning. No medical colleges people will teach. Thank you, Ganesh. Because of your help, everything is happening. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Good night.
Thank you. Thanks for the